make it smaller so I don't cover Aiko's head. There you go. Perfect. All right.
Hey, not so.
There we go.
Hello. How was your interview with Stonehead? That's
It was
exciting.
good. It was a lot of fun. She's normie pilled, which I like.
What does a normie pill mean?
Like, I don't know. She
appeals.
appeals to normies a little bit, you know, and like doesn't have like lefty purity testing and stuff, which I appreciate.
That's nice.
Chat, what's the sound like?
So it was a good interview.
Yeah, it was good. We got into some hilarious memes, and she told us some funny stories about how she's going to church now and stuff.
Oh,
She's
really?
dating a conservative guy, and he's convinced her to start showing up to church on Sundays.
Ooh.
So I was poking around. I'm like, aren't you sitting there like thinking like this is silly? It's like, how do you sit there for church? I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's like the reverse flirt to convert.
Yeah, what do you mean?
A lot of times, like flirt to convert is talked about, like because there's a lot more like women churches than men a lot of times. So like a lot of women will talk about like how they're gonna flirt to convert. I haven't heard many men in church spheres talk about it. So.
And they started dating because he was a hater on Twitter. How amazing is that?
Oh,
he
boy.
started shit posting on Twitter, and now they're living together.
It's the ultimate
Oh, no.
fantasy.
Right? Everyone in chat was like flipping out.
That's the red pill dream right there. You just
I'm gonna-
mean to a woman until she falls in love with
I'm
you.
gonna,
right?
I'm gonna call her a bitch till she realizes what a fucking superior man I am.
And then she'll want me.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. All right. Anyway, enough about me. Monty, it's your show. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you for joining me. My name's Montreal Player. I wanted to talk about this Andrew Tate thing just because the thing happened with my daughter, and I assembled the perfect group to talk about this. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. Well, you're gonna tell us what happened?
Yeah. Okay. So long story. It's really not a big deal, but so my daughter, she's 18. My oldest daughter. She's 18. She's getting out there. Reconnected with a guy from high school, and they went out for drinks. And it came up that he watched Andrew Tate. You know, he was a viewer and stuff. She asked him some questions about it, and then relayed them to her dad because I happen to be a dad that talks to my kids. And that's it. We had a few laughs about it, but with the discourse going around this guy, I don't know. I felt like there's a bunch of things. It sparked, I guess, a bunch of thoughts in my mind. I want to talk about them with some people, and I'll share some of the tidbits, I guess, that I got from this encounter and some stuff from my own life, and get your feedback on it, basically. And we'll talk around we'll talk around this topic and the things adjacent to it. While I smoke joints. Don't worry, it's CBD only. It's CBD only, so I don't fucking lose track of the conversation.
Really?
Boo!
Interesting. How did you find CBD only joints? That is very high
You're
quality.
Canadian too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Erudite, you're Canadian. You can get that shit too.
I've never seen pure CBD joints. Like I can't even find pure CBD oil.
Okay, I went to SQDC. I bought this De La Ferme. Okay, made here in Quebec. All right, the CBD content is let's see, 11.13% CBD, 0.33% THC.
Dope.
Wow. Maybe Berta's just like a rough spot. I mean, that wouldn't be surprising to me if Berta's weed supply wasn't exactly high.
You know, I went to Banff, and it's illegal there still to smoke weed, which is really ridiculous
because
it's
public.
Yeah, and I got in trouble. The cop was like, "Put that stinky joint out." I'm like, "Bro, it's legalized nationally. Shut the hell up."
Yeah, I think they don't want like the smell of it in like public spaces, so
Right.
you'll get some more
That's
cops for
Banff
sure.
is where they bottle air and sell it to people in China. So you don't want weed in there.
That's true. The
You're-
Chinese don't want THC in their fresh
It's like,
O2.
you call this fresh air? I can smell your fucking hippies. All right, through this Beijing smog.
It smells like weed and hemp oils and progressive values. Get it out of here.
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So I'm asking my daughter. I'm like, so would you ask him about this thing? And from this guy's perspective, he's an 18-year-old guy. All right, a father not present in their life, raised by his mom. All right, said, you know what? There's some things I like and some things I don't like. What I don't like is when he trash talks women, because I was raised by my mom. I don't like that stuff. But he feels, and I'm going to read here because I took notes. He speaks to the male experience. He speaks about what it means to be a guy and how to be useful, right? And this is something that seems very important. It seems very important to guys. Hey, hello. Do you want to share your experience? I'm talking about what you said.
No, because
Okay, it's fine. Anyways, in any case, and I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was like, she was just like, fuck that.
No, she's camera shy.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons. Sorry, it's one of the reasons. Like, I talk about my family a lot. My family's central, but I've never shown them because they don't like to have their faces on camera. So it's like really difficult. It's too bad because like everything I do, like I want to talk. I want to show. We have a I guess a little mini agricultural co-op. We do a lot of like family projects and stuff like that, but I do them all with my family, and these are all people who don't consent to like being on camera and having their faces public. So it's like I can't really take pictures. I can't really show people, but I want to, but at one point I'm respecting, I guess, their right to privacy, and I have to keep that in a little box for myself,
Right.
In any case. But what do you think about this? It's like, do you think people, Tate and people like him, I feel like culturally, and I think this is more online than in the real world. All right. Culturally, there's this message being sent to young guys. The future doesn't want you, right? You're not wanted here. You're not needed. You're not wanted. There's no purpose for you. All right. And you're absolutely, dispensable. And I think that's something that a lot of young guys are hearing, and it's hard for them to handle. And they're wondering what am I supposed to do if I'm barreling towards a future that doesn't want me, right? And at the end of the day, and then in that kind of environment, someone comes up and says, hey, you know what? I can teach you to be useful. I can teach you to be someone people value. Right. And I think that's very appealing when you're struggling with this identity of not being that more than anything else. What are your thoughts on that one?
I forgot my grinder. I'll be right back.
Forgetting the grinder.
I think Erudite, do you agree with his kind of view? I think you have a similar view, no?
The young man that basically like the future doesn't want them.
Or like, I guess, starting with the men's issues would probably be a good starting point.
I would agree that it seems like a lot of men feel that way. I would be the first part that I would start at, and I think there's a lot of reasons why they feel that way. Some of them are legitimate, and then some of them are people who are taking advantage of these young men and peddling to some of their insecurities and whatnot, kind of construing a narrative as well, right? So there's probably like a decent amount of it that's true, and then of course there's going to be a fair bit of it that's also untrue, and so we have to kind of sift through what's true. But I would agree that when I talk with young men and stuff, this is a very, very common sentiment. Even when I'm talking with like youth workers, social workers, therapists who work with teens, this is like over and over and over again a very common issue that's being raised by multiple young men of very, very different demographics and backgrounds.
Do you think it's more? Do you think this is more young men who are exposed heavily online? Because I feel like in the real world, men are still very valued. However, in online, I feel like that's inverted somewhat.
Go ahead.
Aiko.
I was gonna say that I think that a lot of so if you're becoming like a young adult right now, you probably haven't seen how pop culture was in like the early 2000s. Like being an adult in the early 2000s, I think when there was no real concern about, respecting the person whose holes you want to use. Like it was very much like the pickup artist stuff. It was mostly, there are a lot of unheard people that are now able to have a voice because of social media, and it is very loud. I think we're starting to sort out how to handle that. And I think a lot of people are kind of stuck in this like generalized mindset of like, oh, all men are evil or bad or something. So I think there's like a gap where people can come in and try to be models of like a healthy way to be masculine and discern the toxicity on an individual creator level, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
I see a lot of I think I've actually seen it on your stream, Heem, where you know, guys are criticizing incels. Oh, well, you got no game, you got to learn some game, right? And
yeah, it's true.
no, but I mean, but where is game school exactly?
Okay, here, listen. I said this before. This is my analysis. Okay, the Western lifestyle is to blame. Okay, the North American in particular lifestyle. The nuclear family is to blame. Okay, when mommy and daddy are working till 6 p.m. every day, and you're basically learning how to socialize through the television, or barely even learning how to socialize outside of school, then you're kind of stunted. If you compare, like when I compare my cousins that grew up in Canada versus the ones that grew up in Iran, the level of socialization is incomparable between these two groups. Because the ones that grew up in Iran, they were around aunts, uncles, grandparents, constant, and culturally, we push them to socialize. We don't have this kind of, now, for example, these shits, little things piss me off so much. When you go to a restaurant, you'll see parents giving their kids the iPad and giant headphones, and they're able to completely check out. When I was growing up, or even from my background, you would never be able to get away with doing that shit because we value the involvement of the kid in the adult conversation. So there's this part of it that's like, okay, these kids are growing up so online, their parents are so busy that they're just unable to correctly socialize, whether it's with their friends, whether it's with their coworkers, or whether it's with women. And another part of it is, listen, unfortunately, a lot of people value cars, banging lots of girls. In that age, it's going to be really hard to convince a kid, hey, like a healthy relationship with a woman will be more gratifying than fucking 10 girls in the next month. So you have to they're never going to change that mindset, you know? When I met my partner, who I've been with now for coming up on 9 years, when I met her, I was 22, and I remember even thinking, like, this girl is a sweetheart, she's amazing, she's got so many good qualities, and I could see myself being with her for, you know, indefinitely. But even my 22-year-old self, I was like, fuck, like, do I want to settle down? Like, maybe I still want to fuck some more girls. Like, and that dynamic is very hard to break, I think.
Right. Well, like, how we socialize them. And I don't know what it's like in Iran, but I think that, I mean, misogyny is kind of like a thing that exists, right? Like, it's been the norm. So I think it feels...
Well, misogyny has been the norm, but people who don't know how to socialize well, they'll revert to that as like the default, kind of, right? Like, if you have some social ability, if you have an ability to read body language or get non-verbal cues from people, then you might not need to rely on misogyny as your
why do you see misogyny as a crutch? In what way do you see it as a crutch to enter into social interaction?
Because I think in a way sometimes negging can work, where you like lightly criticize or you lightly insult someone that you're looking for, but these guys, they don't know how to, like, I don't know where to draw the line.
Though? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I would say, like, most flirting and teasing is some level of, like, mocking each other.
Right.
It's playfulness,
misogyny isn't, because the misogyny isn't negging, right? Like, negging actually got converted into something really sinister in the pickup artistry. But when you look at something like, if you go back to, like, simple pickup, when they talk about negging, it's fundamentally about some level of, like, teasing, and kind of what you do is you typically take advantage of, like, a moment where somebody, like, makes a little mess up, and you basically, like, break the tension of that awkward moment with, like, a light tease that makes the person laugh, so they don't feel worse about themselves. It breaks the tension, and it takes advantage of it, and it basically, like, builds rapport with that person, right? Like, I would say my main style of flirting is teasing with people. I love being teased back, right? That's just what I mean, most people really enjoy that, men and women, to be honest. And so the issue is that what happened in the pickup artist movement is that as it's probably not a unifactor, right? So I'm going to describe a system, and then obviously it's going to be more complex than this. But it seems like over time, it's become more and more toxic, and this has been contributed to by multitudes of factors. But as it's become more toxic, it's been less heard. They're getting labeled more and more often as sexist and misogynist and hateful. They actually seem to also be becoming this. So I'm not saying that because you've labeled them a misogynist, now they are a misogynist. I would suggest it's probably more of a mixture of alienation, some sense of like kind of martyrdom, and like probably a bit of victim complex that's playing into this.
There's probably a little bitterness too. The fact that you
sure.
want something and then it's denied to you, and you're like, but I'm trying some stuff. Why isn't it working?
And it's always easier to blame other people than yourself, right? Like introspection is not it's very like emotionally mature thing to do, and I don't think a lot of people, men, women, a lot of people aren't equipped to do that like healthy introspection. So that introspection either becomes like toxically like I'm a fucking piece of shit, like, or it ends up being like the girls are evil, they're just like, you know, they're after my money
playing
or whatever.
games with me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be direct, I'm trying to be myself, but it's not working, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I don't know what so like Erudite, we kind of went at it a little bit on Twitter, I guess this weekend or whatever, and like I guess my problem here with this entire discussion of like we need to talk about men's issues, whatever, which I talk about men's issues all the time. I think I'm pretty like whatever the opposite of toxic masculinity is, healthy masculinity. The problem is that like these guys, they don't want to hear that. Like they're not interested in hearing that, like that the solutions to their problems require years of long like introspection and self-improvement and therapy. These things are not appealing to these guys, and they'll never be appealing, I don't think.
Do you know what they
What do you
do
mean?
want to hear? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Aiko.
I mean, like when we say like these guys, what does that mean exactly?
Guys who are drawn into red pill or content or Andrew
The
Tate
young
in general,
single
right?
men, yeah.
Or heartbroken men.
Right. Like I think that there are different reasons why someone might be like sucked in to that and be vulnerable. I think that maybe it's a little bit more helpful instead of like saying that this is how these people are and how they're motivated and how they ought to act and their parents and stuff, because some people grow up really shitty, but that doesn't mean that like they get to act shitty to other people, and it doesn't mean that they don't have reasons why they turned out the way they did, or that they can never change. It's like a perspective. They've been told a narrative, whatever that narrative is, and that led them to appreciate this better, more absolute, confident narrative of like empowering, like kind of, I don't know. He's kind of like toxic opposite day Oprah for some people, I think, maybe.
Well,
if that a reference makes sense, but I don't know. I think like yeah, we can blame parents, we can blame like a lot of things, but as far as what we ought to do about it, I think there are a lot of people who are hurt and don't know how to engage with each other and have grown up to see women as things that they are owed, like Jordan Peterson and his you know, like some of the men take all the women and everyone, like there needs to be like a dispension, not literally, but do you know what I mean?
I think you're right about you can identify causes, and you need to do this and you need to then paint I guess a roadmap for them as much as you want, but it doesn't speak. I feel like none of that speaks to the needs of young guys, right? Whereas these parasites, for lack of a better word, they speak directly to the needs of the young guys. I want to feel this way. I want to have an ease doing things. I don't want to
But listen,
struggle.
there's a reason why like rap, hip hop. I'm sorry, Erda, I'll let you go. Just real quick, and then there's a reason why like rap music and hip hop and things that appeal to kids are always like fuck bitches, get money, drive sick cars. They're never like be in a healthy, long-term, stable relationship. Like those things are just not appealing to kids in that age. They're not interested in that.
Well, do they have any examples of like role models really
No, and this is the issue, is there isn't really good examples of like healthy, very traditionally masculine men. So like a lot of men that will offer up are going to be men that tend to embody a lot of like really healthy feminine traits, which is great, by the way. I love when men embody traditional, healthy, feminine traits. I think that's base. Men and women should occupy either gender role as much as their heart tells them. The issue is that a lot of these young men, especially when you're like 14, 19, 20, and you're really trying to form an identity of masculinity for yourself, especially if you have no dad, you're looking for a masculine role model. And a lot of the role models that, for example, we try to suggest to these men are typically men who are a lot more like, they occupy a lot more like traditionally feminine personality traits, which is great. The problem is that it's not appealing to these young men, right? Like the one thing Andrew Tate does really well is he hyperbolizes to a really gross and extreme extent all of these conceptions of what we think masculinity is, right? Like this is why he calls himself the toxic masculinity king. And there's something inherently appealing about that. And so the question has to be for the rest of us, is there any way to deliver a healthy, very masculine man who doesn't have all of these toxic traits? And we haven't found one yet.
I guess my point is, even if that person exists, they'll never thrive because the solutions they're going to offer are long-term solutions. No one wants to. People would rather hear like, "Hey, go invest in GameStop stock," than like, "Hey, go get a degree in finance and then maybe a master's and then your CFA." Like this is how you make money in the stock market, not through like get rich quick schemes, right? And I think Andrew Tate is the get rich quick scheme, and that will always appeal to them. Like I guess maybe I'm more black pilled than you are, Erudite.
Always though, I feel like I think that we're mixing up like what is and what can be, like the roads that we have. Like I think this convergence, like kind of like, you know, me in Montreal, like I used to see platforming very differently because it was different at the time, and when I realized that this was not helpful and that it would be much better to have like open conversations where everything is on the table and it's just genuine people trying to understand each other. And I think that is, we need more people. Like the internet, it's not, the separation between Twitch and YouTube is dissolving. I think eventually it'll be not so much one giant person or a couple giant people, but more growing individual, like growing individual platforms. Yeah, where these things are said, and it's not just like one person saying like fucked up shit and other people kind of slacking off about checking them. And you know, I think that we'll be able to have more open conversations about that. And the more educated I think people become, especially about how things have been in the past and how we got to where we are presently, I think that we can come up with I mean, it sounds pretty cliche, but like teaching people how to critically think by example, but instead of clumping everyone together into a generalization.
So to unblack pill you, Heem, I'm going to attempt this. Jordan Peterson, before his brain injury and whatnot, thrived. And he absolutely did not sell a get rich quick, get bitches quick. He didn't sell any of that. His entire mantra was responsibility. Work on yourself before you try to fix anything else. Yeah. Once you've fixed yourself, fix your family, fix your relationships, help your kids, help your community. And then maybe if you've done all of that, then you can go on to these like grander things, right? Like Jordan Peterson's message of responsibility.
What was his key? His key to success, a lot of the reasons, the 12 rules, I don't know, I guess you could say maybe there's an argument to be made that is his key to success. But in my opinion, like his key to success was viral anti-feminist moment during interviews and stuff.
Right.
And the book was supplementary almost to
right. There's
that.
the clickbait and then there's the substance. Erudite, I want to ask you a question, and it's exactly in line with what we were saying. What do you think? What do you think the need is that Jordan Peterson fulfilled for people with his that clicked with this hard work and you have to pay attention to yourself rhetoric and stuff?
I think young men want a place in life. Like I think they want that, right? Jordan Peterson wasn't selling this like easy, simple message. They weren't. And if you don't know that, then you didn't read his content. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm not even.
Wait, I didn't say. Wait, I agree with that.
Clear, though. Okay, that's fair. I just want to make it super clear because there's a lot of people that really don't understand what Jordan Peterson's original messages actually were, right? Especially because now he's kind of gone crazy and everything he's saying since like coming back is terrible, and I disavow all of it. But the issue is that like he wasn't selling anything quick. 12 rules was not like, here's 12 simple rules to pick up girls. It was like very deep, long, life-lasting self-growth, relationship growth. All of it was about longevity. He was all about establishing good, healthy relationships with your wife, with partners, treating others ethically. And the issue is that Jordan Peterson, for multitudes of reasons, has disappeared from this space. He got super burnt out. He got, I would say, very unfairly attacked on certain things. There were certain things to attack upon. There were certain legitimate criticisms to make of pre-brain injury Jordan Peterson, right? The issue is that a lot of those attacks weren't being made, right? We just said it, like all these misogynist clickbait things, and it's like there wasn't actually a ton of misogynistic clickbait things. He talked about the wage gap and how there was problems with it. You'll have to send me them. I will argue with most.
You ever seen the one where he talked about women in the workplace?
5 million books. That's not a side note. That's a movement.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that the reason that his name got out there was because he started doing these anti-feminist lecture series. He wasn't going and doing the lecture series and reading the 12 things. I promise.
The most viewed video is a biblical lecture.
Yeah, it was biblical. It was like Christian conservatism. Yeah, Christian
myths. It wasn't even conservatism. It was just like mostly biblical, like psychological mythos. Most Christians hate it, by the way, because he treats the Bible like a bunch of stories and myths and like fables.
The ancient myths that.
But just to clarify, at those lectures, he wasn't. At those lectures, he wasn't talking about the 12 Rules book. He was talking about. No, at his lecture series that he used to be the highest paid. Before his accident, whatever, he used to be the highest paid traveling lecturer. Like he would go college to college. He was not talking about 12 rules there. He was talking about anti-feminism and cultural Marxism.
I've gone to some of these. I know what he was talking about. He was talking about his book. He was talking about self-improvement. He was talking about like how to improve himself. Like this is what he was talking about. I agree he's gone crazy. I agree that even in the past, it seems like he's always had very anti-trans rhetoric, which is a problem. And I agree with these criticisms. But when we're talking about what he was recommending specifically to men, it was responsibility, and men were eating it up. They wanted it. And that seems to me to say men are still wanting it. There's not a big gap between Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson. And the only thing that is like Andrew Tate is he's LARPing at some level of responsibility. The issue is Andrew Tate's entire life is devoid of self-responsibility. And it's all about taking advantage of other people, taking advantage of women, conning people as much as possible. And then he just sells this big lie about like he talks about like family units. And it's just like, bruh, come on, you don't care about family units. Like you've got like 12 cam girls working for you. Like that's not
when your top tier subscription is one of these like 500 grand, okay, and I'll personally vet you. That's like you're trying to find the perfect intersection of lots of money to milk, okay, and gullible enough to desperate enough for instruction that you're going to pay $5,000 for this, right? And it takes a special. This is like the Nigerian prince filtering scheme, right? You don't want someone who's just going to be in it for like $40. You want someone who's going to go all the way. So whoever falls for actually the most ridiculous story you can tell, okay, is actually the best one because it filters out all the semi-smart people, right? And when you have a scam like this, you can tell this is nothing but exploitation here. All right? Dead giveaway for me. All right.
Yeah.
Erudite, would you say that Jordan Peterson's appeal was to an older audience than Andrew Tate's?
It seems to be not the case. It seems about the same age. Andrew Tate's audience is a lot. I was looking at this today because I was also expecting it to be a little bit younger. It's not as young as I thought it was.
But I mean, on TikTok, he blows up on TikTok, which is like the younger.
18 to 24-year-olds who are mostly 18 to 24, and then the next biggest group is 25 to 34, which is about the same age as Jordan Peterson's. Now, this is probably going to be selection bias a bit because those are the same people that are typically on like YouTube and TikTok, but it seems like their age demographics overlap a fair bit.
But he's banned from both now, right? That just happened? TikTok and YouTube or Facebook?
The issue is that Andrew Tate never really used his own social media. He has like that war room MLM thing. So most people who are peddling his video, like they'd have to ban Andrew Tate from ever even appearing in a video to get him off because of his war room shit that he's like, most people pushing his stuff is like random people.
Right. Or like affiliates or like down the chain of the pyramid or whatever that is. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate like appeal to different kinds of lost young men, you know? Like I think just stylistically and obviously I don't think Jordan Peterson has been trafficking women, but Jordan Peterson, I mean, he has had, do you think, Erudite, that hasn't he had like kind of misogynistic ideas as far as like how women should dress and the makeup thing and the you know, the
something about makeup being a signaling that you're looking for sexual attention from women or from men.
And like he had like it wasn't just trans issues, it was like overall I think like women's empowerment in general.
So I don't know if you watched like one of the videos where he talks about this, but when you watch the full thing, he's almost exclusively just posing questions. Like, how does makeup contribute to like workplace relationships? At no point, and like he says this pretty clearly in the video, but also in follow-up videos, that in no way is he actually prescribing that just women shouldn't wear makeup or any of these things. Like Jordan Peterson is a very OG psychological academic, and it's really, really, really important to understand the Chesterton's fence to engage with a lot of his content. Now, I will grant to you, it's very stupid that you have to know like lots of precursor stuff to understand somebody. That's bad of Jordan Peterson, like actually bad of him, right? Mm-hmm. But he wasn't anti-makeup. He posed questions about being like, what is contributing to sexual harassment, right? His statement is a question exclusively about this.
That's actually the Jordan Peterson thing, though, is like a lot of asking questions and leaving things open-ended, and then it can
you draw your conclusions. Most people draw a certain conclusion from it. I guess Erudite, I would ask you, do you think most people who hear that kind of rhetoric, do you think that their takeaway is going to be women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace, or women shouldn't, what do you think their takeaway would be from that?
I would hope it wouldn't, because then the interviewer asked him directly, are you saying that women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace? And he said, no, of course not. So if that's
so, you think so?
Then they just, I guess,
posing the questions. Whoa.
I guess I don't know. I think you're maybe I'm just too black-pilled on the whole thing.
We don't have to fight about Jordan Peterson necessarily, but at least can we all agree Jordan Peterson is a much better alternative at this point to responding to men's issues than Tate. Like, I'm sure all
Erudite making a Jordan Peterson commercial right now.
Jordan Peterson, not post TBI, that shit, he's kind of crazy now.
Honestly, I think we can ask for better in general. Like, I don't think that we have to rely on like just a handful of figures that, this is the person we should embody, instead of we can talk about, hey, what makes something toxic?
I actually wanted to ask you, Aiko. Because you had mentioned that they appeal to boys that are lost, and I just wanted to ask a similar question. What do you think makes these boys lost?
I think if we're talking about like younger people, we are still obviously socialized to, I'm 37 now. And when I was growing up, it was absolutely like boys had to be trying to have sex as much as possible, or you were gay in a not positive way. So there are I think people have a really disjointed relationship with their masculinity, not having a lot of like good examples, and also having to see the backlash of all the decades of prior issues with misogyny and power and that kind of stuff. So I think we're finding our way through. So I think it might be better to focus on what are the things that we can look at and say, that thing, that action, that idea is bad, instead of telling people how they ought to be and try to herd them into a certain kind of lifestyle.
men want to be told how to be because we have like an unprecedented amount of fatherlessness, right? We have pretty good evidence at this point that there is strong intergenerational trauma among men when we go right back to World War II, World War I, Vietnam War, right? We've got PTSD, and this isn't to dismiss all of the women's issues that came along with wars and stuff. I'm not dismissing this, but to focus on men specifically, right? We have to address this, and men are. This is why people are attracted to the Tates, to the Sneekos, and to the Petersons, right? Which, to be clear, these three are not all the same, but it's because they're willing to prescribe to men how to be, because men are desperate to be told, because they don't know what to be.
They don't know how do I stay useful? How do I stay useful? How do I stay valued by people? How do people still want me around? And what makes me worth it to tolerate me? Right? And these are things these are things that you need to know to be sane. All right?
I guess I just disagree, because you know what, they're telling them, the reason these guys are successful isn't just because they're telling guys what to do. I tell guys what to do all the time. I tell them to be respectful to women. I tell them to go to therapy if they have childhood issues. The thing is, they will never want to hear that. That's the problem. These things are not seen as masculine ways to address the issues that they have. These are seen as the soy feminine ways, but even though that they're the ones that will have the best outcomes. So when that's the case, how are you ever going to win in this landscape of content with guys who are telling you that women are the problem? It's not you that's the problem, it's women.
Like I said, I think that this is like a present day description, but I don't think that it has to be this way. And in some people like you, I always think of you when I think of someone who has a lot of positive masculinity, and is a good example of like how someone can be in like a healthy long-term relationship. You know, when I was thinking about maybe a relationship panel, I was thinking that you're one of the people that I would invite, because I know you have a lot of experience with that. I know it seems like it could be the whole world is this way. I don't really look at Twitter very much, so I don't really know what's going on, but I think that we can get stuck in the feeling of there's so much noise that it seems like this is how it is. And I think that the universal things, like with Jordan Peterson, the valuable things are kind of universal self-help type things. And then he has other stuff on top of it, for better or worse. Not all of it terrible. Some of it, my opinion, terrible. I think that it's the not no one. Like, yes, up until this point, maybe that's how you had to engage when you were becoming a content creator and trying to grow an audience and be heard. But I don't think that's going to be the case in the future. So I think that for now, we should take the opportunities that we can to display good examples of things that we want to see more of in the world, and build communities like that. And
What do you think, Erudite?
I think the issue is we have to be honest about a couple of things that are descriptively true, while also building towards like our ideal goals, right? I think what Aiko's prescribing as like the ideal direction that like dating and stuff and like Heem talks about is a great way for things to go. I think it makes more space for more people with more diverse personalities. You can have like people occupying varying gender roles, and I think that that's great, right? I think that that's wonderful. The issue is that descriptively, that's not most of the dating landscape, right? When you tell guys like just be nice to women and go to therapy, the reality is that doesn't work. Lots of people seem to still prefer very traditional relationship dynamics. There's a lot of women who communicate to men things like, oh, well, like, I'm not interested in you anymore because, you know, like, you stopped pushing, or like, well, you know, you didn't go for that kiss, or you didn't push me more, or when I said no, you should have tried harder. And like the thing is that like dating culture in and of itself is so toxic, and I wouldn't blame either group. So I would agree with you guys. You guys have identified this one thing, like, man, the red pillars, they just want to blame women. And I'm like, yes, that's so toxic. The problem is that the other side is doing the same shit, and have been for a long time, is that we're having these like narrow definitions as to what's causing the problem, and then we're trying to sell them narrow solutions, and they're not working.
Can I say though, I don't agree with this notion that like, if you respect women, that's a non-traditional relationship. Like, you can be respectful and not a misogynist and still have traditional gender roles in a relationship, or still be the slightly more dominant. But again, these are like nuanced things that these kids or young men just don't want to hear it. I don't think they're so down bad that they just want to be told. They just want to reaffirm their biases. Like the content that you want will never appeal to them, I don't think.
Well, this is the thing. There hasn't been a pushback. Like, it's never been better than how it is now for non-men. It's never been better. Like, there's now pushback, so people feel uncomfortable. Kind of the way that, like, I don't know, before there were civil rights movements, really, like, people didn't even notice the ones that weren't affected. You know what I mean? And then suddenly there's, like, they feel a pressure. And it's kind of like the problems were always there, but now it's more noticeable because people are starting to like criticize the narratives that we have been told. And I think there are a lot of people who will default to saying that, yes, like go with whatever whoever has been like oppressed historically, that they'll just kind of acquiesce to that without thinking, to escape their own responsibility for understanding what's going on if they're going to engage in that conversation. Does that make sense? It's kind of like just being like, oh yeah, like I'm terrible, like I'm a toxic man, and so I have to.
Do you think with the way we teach men how to act it was crafted in a time where the man was basically the most useful, in that people depended on him to generally take care of, or in terms of like legal affairs, in terms of like making money. So it's like, I can be so useful, okay, that also I could be such a shithead that you have to tolerate it because I'm so useful here, right? But now as time goes on, their utility or net utility is going down, and it's like, oh, why? But I don't get it. People don't want to tolerate my bullshit anymore. Right? Why? Right. Oh, it's because I'm not fucking. I'm not doing it. I'm not.
You're
useful.
not useful. I find your usefulness is equal to.
Yeah, exactly. Your usefulness on the way down, and when the usefulness on the way down, you feel into. Oh, I have to be considerate towards other people, or they won't fucking need me around anymore. Right?
Well, yeah. Like equality feels like oppression to the people that benefit from it. You know what I mean?
Isn't that kind of victim blaming?
What's victim blaming?
Well, if men are the way they are because we've socialized them poorly, we've grown them up in toxic masculine standpoints and given them rigid conceptions of how it's okay to be men, and then we tell men that the reason that you're failing all the time is because you're toxically masculine, aren't we kind of victim blaming? Like, isn't there a reason that they are the way they are? And that doesn't mean that they're shed of responsibility.
Yeah, okay.
Red pillars would tell you
that. Makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense.
Wait, one sec. Right. No, hang on. If someone has cancer and you tell them you're sick and frail because you have cancer, you're victim blaming technically, but it is a fact. In this case, it's the fact that these guys are grown up in a society that's toxically masculine, and they've internalized a lot of this rage or this like inability to open up emotionally and stuff like this. This is just fact. It's not victim.
As a cancer patient, we're going to be like compassionate. We're going to make like space for them, and we're going to like not ask them to lift boxes, and we're going to like negotiate some level of trade of like realizing that there's certain disadvantages. This is what we should do with like major disadvantaged groups across the history. Right. Well, it seems like we don't extend that at all, especially for like an 18-year-old boy who's like spouting off maybe some really toxic things. He's really emotionally unregulated.
Yeah, he's going to be like, why am I so miserable? And then people are going to tell him, lol, you created this system. That's your problem. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
It's very invalidating to the feelings. It's like, like their own personal reality. It's super invalidating. Like, as much as you want to like shove objective reality onto them, right? They still have their personal reality that they have to live with every day. And in that reality, these kind of messages, no matter how objectively true you want to say they are very invalidating, and that affects people. That affects what they're vulnerable to. That affects how they grow. All right. Sorry,
I have to push back a little bit. So the cancer example, right? You said we would be compassionate. I think that we are compassionate towards guys who display this. Hold on. But at a young age, we tell them, hey, you should start like acknowledge toxic masculinity. What do you mean? You're shaking your head, but this is like in schools now. It's taught toxic masculinity, consent. These are all things that are taught in school from a young age. So when a kid is 18 years old, after being taught this for the last 14 years and still doing the exact same shit. That would be like the cancer patient who just refuses to go get therapy after years of having cancer, and they're getting frailer and frailer. I'm gonna say, yo, you have fucking cancer. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. You gotta go get therapy.
But it's not accessible, Heem. Therapy is not accessible if you're going to make the same analogy.
Case, you have to acknowledging
research, right? Like look at therapy research. There's actually a growing issue that we've kind of looked at a meta science level, where a lot of especially third and fourth wave therapies, they're almost exclusively tested on women. There's a really small, sometimes like in my study, I did a test where I administered a social anxiety treatment. I had 80% women in this, 80%. And so how well can I say that my treatment actually generalizes to men? It's hard to say. It's the same issue that we had in medicine like 60 years ago, when we were only testing like college-age men for heart conditions. And then we were like, oh, wow, shocker. Turns out heart conditions, same organ, can look super different in women, particularly things like heart attacks. And so the issue is that like a large number of men feel pretty dissatisfied from certain therapeutic techniques, but there isn't even space to talk about this. If men raise this as an issue, they're just being like, you're just like being cold, you're just like being toxically masculine, you're just like not leaning into your feelings. Like, chill out, dude, just talk about your feelings more. And it's like, that might not be the solution. This might be a more system-wide failure.
Yeah, you might have...
No, it is a system-wide failure for sure. Yeah, 100%.
I think as a guy, and I'll let you go right after Aiko. I think it... I lost it. I'm sorry. Aiko, go ahead. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, instead of telling people what they have to do, like, if there are more representations, if there are more people that can speak and be heard, right now, we focus so much on, this is what it's so much. I know that I said this before, but it is so much noise. I think we have to be... we have to think about what we want to say, when, how important it is to us to be involved in this and not just be kind of like naysayers. And I understand on there are reasons why it's like this today. Like, we're trying... I'm already stoned.
It happens to me all the time. I'm not really that blazed, but I can't hold the fucking thread. Go on, Erudite, please.
I was going to ask you a question, Aiko. This might help. This might help prompt where you were at too. You said something. You said we got to think about what we want to say. What do you want to say? Like, what do you think is the narrative that needs to be put out there?
I love that question.
The narrative.
What messaging should we be giving? When you say we need to be not naysaying, but telling them what to do, what should we be telling them to do?
Well, I don't think that we can collectively, as a we, choose like a singular narrative. Aside from, it is like you're a free agent. You have been socialized in a certain way, but you are also responsible for whatever outcomes you produce as a result of your behavior. So act carefully. I think we need to look at things from a more impersonal, like still compassionate, but less like personal attack and blame focusing, because you are not, it's not your fault that you were placed here in this position, but it is your fault if you engage in a toxic or harm.
Like how much compassion do you have to have for someone to tell them treat women as equals with respect?
Oh no, you absolutely.
Like I guess I
it's because you want
Wait, sorry,
the result.
The question was for Erudite. The question was for Erudite.
Wait, hold on. Okay, please go right after. The question is that you fuck. Okay, please, Erudite, go.
I guess I think Aiko said it best. Like, men are lost. They don't know what to do, right? And that's true. They can't figure it out, and they desperately want to be told. If the world made sense, their fathers would have never walked out from them. They would have never left them. They would have never left their mom to raise them alone. Like, if the world made sense, that would have worked. The idea of, like, just tell them to respect women. We have been, but what does that actually mean? Yeah. And what do you do when women give you counter information where you're like, do this? And they're like, wait, I thought that wasn't respecting women. And also, I've been trying to respect women, and they keep telling me I'm an asshole, or they tell me I'm creepy.
No, it's fine. I finally remember my thing. Thank you. If the point is to get, is to get guys to interact with the world. It is to actually get results. Okay, the blaming and shaming doesn't work. It serves nothing if other than invalidating their feelings. And you might be like, well, fuck those people. Who cares about their fucking feelings, right? But if the problem is their behavior, their feelings are what needs to be addressed. And I don't think it's fair to put this. I don't think it's fair to put this on women, okay, to like act different with guys. That's bullshit, okay, because people have their own problems. But I think guys, we need to make an effort to show more positive examples, right? Of how, hey, look, I've achieved happiness. I've achieved utility. Here's some people that value me.
No one's
and this is what I did
looking
with
for
it.
that happiness.
No,
at that
I know.
age. No 22-year-old wants to be married.
Not married, valued,
they don't wanna- listen,
valued,
I told you-
looked up to. Okay, these are the things that they're screaming
the
for
thing
that
is,
they
listen,
need.
hang on one second.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter. Hold on. Sorry. It doesn't matter. It's not about imposing my goals and my values on them. Okay, it's about their emotional need. Okay, and helping them find ways to find it for themselves. All right, go.
The point is that when they value different things, the only thing that an 18 or 19-year-old guy values is the number of girls he's been with. Okay,
That's not true.
Wait,
That's not true. You've been.
That's
I
not
think you
true.
made-
Some people, yes, okay, but a
The
lot
guys
of
who are
guys,
trying to-
18-year-old guys, and I come in contact with them because of my kids. Okay, some of them are like this, and a lot of them are not like this.
Right. Can I just
This
say
is what
before I
men
forget?
wanted.
Because I'm about to forget. I'm so
Please do.
forgetting.
Go for it.
We have to stop putting concepts, rules of thumb onto individuals. Rules of thumb are there to like, kind of like have ideas about like certain ways that things can play out. But when it comes to an individual situation that actually is happening, there are real individuals that are a part of it. We can like look at it, take it apart, like what is, and then like engage with it at that time. Like, what do you do with, if a woman says like the opposite, and that's because women can say stupid, uneducated shit too, and they have no idea what's going on inside of them. Like, that's, individuals can be shit. You just don't know until they demonstrate it. Does that make sense?
22-year-olds want to be loved. They want to be seen and be valued. And the issue is they've been sold a message that they do that through sex. This is why my big hot take on Twitter was that men often don't pursue sex for itself. They pursue it for status. And this is because they think that intimacy is going to be found, that gnawing, desperate loneliness and depression is going to be solved if they just fuck enough sluts. And the issue is that's not true. And that's not the way that they should even be looking at women. What they need is like a partner in life. And that partner might change over time and it might look different. But Jordan Peterson wasn't popular because 22-year-olds just want to fuck around. There's an entire weird Christian trad counterculture that's becoming popular with young men right now. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. But it's huge. Men aren't looking for this. They don't know what to do. They're underperforming in every single area. In most areas, education, they're making less money than they used to in the past. Their marriages are falling apart. They're suiciding at a higher rate. Like, men are crumbling. They're falling apart and they're looking for an answer. And I think a lot of men are realizing that just sleeping around isn't the answer. This is why Jordan Peterson was so attractive to so many of them. He was not selling them sleep around and have Bugattis. That was not his message, and no one can claim that it was.
Well, think about.
They want responsibility. They want to have meaning in
So
their
why
life.
can't they be? So why aren't they? If hang on, if all of this is true, then at 22 they should find a girl and, like me, be in an amazing relationship.
Description. Like,
Go Aiko. I want to scream at
what I'm
him right
saying
now.
is-
Go
sorry,
Aiko,
sorry,
please,
what I'm
please.
saying is I'm
Aiko's
using
turn to
myself-
respond. My show, thank you.
But
Yes.
my point is, if hang on, my point
One
was,
more.
I know I used myself as an example. The reason I brought myself up is to say, if this exists of all of these guys who just want love and happiness and all of this, okay, and belonging and love and then none of this would exist in the first place. The reason it exists is because 18 to 24-year-olds, 18 to 20, 14 to 18, whatever, those age groups, all they want to do is fuck. That's it.
Aiko,
They don't want to settle down.
Aiko, do you want to respond to Bootstrap-Heem?
You're handsome, you're charismatic, you're probably very intelligent, you're good enough to be a decently successful streamer. You interviewed Shoe on Head for Pete's sake today. You're not the normal guy. You're not. You're really not.
Okay, so what are you trying?
You're above average on all of these metrics. You're probably educated too. Did you do well at school?
Yeah, I'm getting my PhD, but what's
exactly? This
okay?
They're making these prescriptions like just do these things, and they don't even know how to start. They don't know how to tie their shoes, and you're asking them to run a marathon.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying to you. Is at that point, they're that go run a marathon is not appealing to them when all they want to do is what kind of shoes am I gonna wear out of my closet today? Wearing a comfortable shoe that will not give them blisters is not the thing they're looking for.
How would they ever think I should go run a marathon if they know that they can't even get out of bed? Why would they bother? It would be way better if they get sold a message of, hey, you know, take a little bit of responsibility. Here's how you tie your shoes. Here's how you find a woman who's willing to come to your bedroom and help you out so that you don't have to go too far out of bed. Who in their right mind is running a marathon if they can't get out of bed?
Let me think.
I agree.
Let me just give you two examples of completely opposite, but similar kind of toxic leaders. Nick Fuentes has his groypers, and he hates when they have sex. But people like follow him, look up to him. Richard Spencer, opposite of him, disgusted by Nick Fuentes. They hate each other. He's selling them now a generational project of a pan-European united, like, white whatever you call it, paradise of men being men. He's embodying a new ethos. Like he's coming up with a, what is it called?
It's a narrative to make them feel fucking wanted and useful.
Apolloism. Yes, he knows that you need to give someone the mythos in order to captivate them fully, give them a mission. And that's like Andrew Tate's mission is like, just stop being a fucking pussy, make money, like fuck bitches, or you're a fucking loser. Look at you right now. You're doing this and this and this, and just keeps going and keeps talking, and people are all like feeling. And if you don't have experience that tells you otherwise, I mean, these if you're presented by someone who you feel like is speaking your language and addressing things that like you've noticed as well, and you have nothing else to pull from it, then you're going to, a lot of people, it's like this when they get into cults or into like unhealthy religious relations of whatever kind. It's just like Erudite said before, like the world is, I forgot exactly what you said, but the world is like a scary and lonely place. And especially now, since we're pushing back more on toxic masculinity, which has been the default, the new people who didn't do anything wrong, they were just born and they're growing up and stuff. They're being told that they're all of these things. They're being generalized, and I think you're doing a little bit of that to them by saying that they don't ever want to listen to anything other than like fuck bitches, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but just, I guess maybe I just see it differently.
I think the fuck bitches narrative speaks to some desire they have, and if you can find other ways, better ways for society, but that hit those same needs and desires, I think you have a message there that might work. In terms of fulfilling that emotional need that these guys have, which is really what you're trying to do. Like the money and the this and the that, it all comes down to, yay, people will want me around, you know?
Yeah, sometimes, and they can ignore a lot based on that, or like let the stuff that is bad but not quite bad enough where they can relate to it. They can let that slip through the cracks. Like Sneeko was defending Nick Fuentes on his on that like big panel that a bunch of people were on, because he was saying things that he liked, despite the fact that Nick Fuentes doesn't want him to exist. Does that make sense?
So my question to you would be this: say I gave you X group, and we.
Are you talking to me? Sorry, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So say we had a group, right? A group of people. and they were kind of stripped of some level of social script about how to be in their existence, right? There was no kind of definition for how to exist well in their life. And they were getting educated at a less rate. They were suiciding at a higher rate. Their homelessness was exploding. Their criminality was exploding. And their mental health conditions were exploding. Would your recommendation to those people just be like, well, just try to be like a little bit more respectful? It's pretty simple.
Well, I mean, it would depend on the case-by-case situation, but in all of these things that you're saying, is when you're saying this is declining, it's not so much that it's declining, it's that our advantage ahead of women is reducing. It's that women are getting pulled up, not that men are getting pushed down. It's that women are getting pulled up. So I don't have any sort. Go ahead.
Both groups are getting slightly better over time, right? Suicide rates are decreasing across the board over time.
Sure, yeah.
Right. Like society in general is getting better. The issue is that
you muted your stream apparently, by the way. Erudite.
There's no way I muted.
Your chatters are coming here to just tell me you muted your stream.
It's definitely not muted. They're probably just like 2 seconds behind because I muted my mic when Nick came in, and they probably wanted to hear him stir my milk or something. That totally distracted me.
Sorry, I was saying that like, oh, it's women are getting pulled up. It's not so much that men are getting pushed down.
So
right.
I think it's a proportional. The proportion is getting more balanced.
Well, yeah. Listen, if men needed to have massive advantages in education, earnings, everything in order to have survive, then that's fucking their issue. They need to fucking look in the mirror and figure out, why can't I coexist as an equal? Why do I need to be ahead in every aspect of society in order to find self-worth?
We would never prescribe that to any other group, because this is the issue. When we look at disparities between genders especially, a lot of times we're comparing like boomer men, like boomer rich men especially, to everything else, and young men are not advantaged in the way that they were in the past.
I know, of course, yeah.
Which is great, by the way, because that's because women and people of color are way less disadvantaged, which is based. The issue is that we're seeing all of these groups trend down, except like all of these groups are trending up, except men are starting to tick down. They're less employed, they're less educated. Those are two very concerning markers. And
because they're competing with 50% more people.
The answer can't be look in the mirror and work harder.
Does that work in therapy with people? Hey, you know what? Really, this is actually just your fault. Just figure it out, bucko, right?
I don't know. I guess if someone is disrespectful and misogynistic towards women, what is the solution here besides fucking stop doing that shit and your life will improve?
For an individual, the solution. Hold on. For an individual, okay, the solution is not to just be told, "Hey, just do it." That's literally pull up your bootstraps argument. Okay, they need to be told different things. They need to figure out. They need to figure out what the fuck is their damage. Okay, and they're not doing that work. No. They're not coaxed to doing that work. No one's coaching them in doing that work. They don't know how.
I disagree. I say the same thing even to disadvantaged minorities, okay? What advice are you going to give a poor black kid that's growing up? Are you going to tell him, hey, society is biased against you and there's systemic racism, so don't try to succeed, don't study hard, don't work hard, don't bust your ass? No, of course not. Mm-hmm. You're going to tell the kid, in order to overcome these fucking biases that are societally against you, you have to bust your ass.
It's both, right? We're going to say, hey, there are systemic stuff, and that really sucks. That
just sucks. The systemic solutions? Because in the black example, the systemic solutions are more funding to education and so on and so forth.
Right. And so this is an issue, right? Like if we look at like the nuance of trending up, what we want to see is some level proportional of especially disadvantaged groups trending upwards. For example, black people are increasing in education, longevity, money, but their rate of advancement is lagging behind tons of other people of color groups. And that means that there's something unique going in on that group that we have to look at, and the answer can't just be, come on black people, try harder.
No, not come on black people. Individual to every black person will be bust your ass. Yeah.
No, it's both. It's, hey, there are systemic stuff that is rough, and that's
what are you gonna? Yeah, of course. Yeah, but if you as an individual can't change the system.
Yes. Also, what you have to say is your feelings of being frustrated and that you have more obstacles than other is valid. It's just valid.
But I don't think that guys have more obstacles than women.
They are increasingly seeming to.
Okay, But women. So you're telling me men have it worse than women now, or
I'm not saying that men have it
okay?
worse.
So then men are still in the advantaged position. So until we get to a place where women are running the world, then I would agree with you. We could say there's systemic issues that men they're being pushed down and whatever. But until that's the case, men are still in the advantaged position. So the solution is that they have to fucking fix themselves.
Well,
up.
hold on. Actually, I think he's wrong and right. Okay, I think the message of yeah, apparently there's some mute problems. Well, we'll let her deal with it. No, okay. I think you're wrong and you're right. I think the message of like just you just figure it out, okay, is the wrong way. But I think it is up to men to fix this, right? And to take and I think it's up to men to try to take care of each other more emotionally, right? And reach out and maybe I don't know what we could actually do because I don't know people's actual lives, but look for opportunities to support each other, maybe. Okay, in more ways than just like, oh, just fucking do it, man. Like what is going wrong? Let's start with small goals. You probably, for those who have mastered, I guess, these kind of skills in life, maybe it's time to show better examples. Not of like, oh, look, my life, it's so great, right? But how do you solve problems in your life, right? How do you look for opportunities to solve problems?
Me?
No.
Yeah.
Well, you, but you.
I definitely don't look at societal fixes for it because I don't have time to wait for institutions to change.
We can't do that. We can just. I think that it's good when we talk about our experiences, things that we've thought, how we've changed individually, instead of making it like this is a problem, and you have to fix this and all of these people, but the you is a massive amount of people and not an actual individual. So we have to look at the situation. I think just
what percentage of men do you guys think are struggling with these things? I'm curious.
A large enough number to support Andrew Tate.
That's nothing. He's a nobody.
Okay, but everyone's talking about it like it's a fucking problem.
He's one. Okay, he is because one content creator is not a.
No,
sorry?
he was more searched than Kim Kardashian.
Who cares? That was just this month. Last month, Kofefe was searched more. It doesn't matter. It's a one month trend.
Away. It's Andrew Tate now, and
dear muted refugees, I'll take that clout. Come over here. Go tell them to come to twitch.tv/MontrealPlayeHeem.
What percentage of men do you think are suffering?
Not to be an asshole to Erudite, but I have sound.
I would say almost all men, except for men that are highly good looking and naturally charismatic, come from very good parents with a very established, like, not just a dad, but a dad who like connects with his son. Because we know like a lot of dads,
or some kind of role model.
Oh, a lot of dads. Yeah. What did you actually say?
A lot of dads are not great. Like a lot of dads work 50 hours a week. They come home, they yell at their wife, they yell at their kids, and then they watch football. And that's kind of like the entire kid's experience of their dad, right? That's even dads who don't leave. And that's not all dads. But the fact that like,
they're out there. They're out there.
It's like this rare magic.
Sure, you're 100% right. Yeah, I didn't have a very close relationship with my dad until he was in the hospital and stuff. I 100% agree. But I guess, yeah, like I genuinely don't think that this is affecting more than like, I don't know, let's say probably less than 20% of men, I think.
That's huge!
And also
20%? That's huge.
But 20%, but 20% of men, where a large portion of them are in high school or early college, they're still figuring out who they are.
I know,
and they don't have close relationships with women. I expect a lot of these guys will eventually find a girl and drift away from this kind of content and mentality.
If no one's giving them a sense of purpose, they're going to go do dumb shit to get it.
You cannot 20%, get a sense of purpose 20% from other
of people.
Do not get a sense of purpose from other people.
That
would be.
But you can, but people do. It's bad. It's not good for them to do. They give up their psychological autonomy, but people do it nonetheless. And we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. We think that we don't know. Eventually, those people who are in high school and college are going to be in their mid 40s or something. They're gonna be people who have like power. They're going to be future representatives. They're going to be, the people that educate the next generation. So I think that, when people have conversations interpersonally and they get to know people that are different than them, they become more aware of a nuance, like, oh, this is an actual person kind of thing, right? So I think communication, like actual exchange of ideas, and not just this idea next to each other and like fighting. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I don't know. I forgot. I'm stoned. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Let's say it's only 15% of men. That's if any other group was this impacted by certain obstacles at a 15% rate, we would be concerned about it, and we should be.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think
just simple stuff like respect women, don't rape, because we've been saying that for a long fucking time, and it doesn't seem to actually help.
Do you think? Let me ask you. Okay. Do you think that
really consequences?
Do you think incels will always exist?
Probably.
Like there will be some group of men who will always, like in perpetuity, who will not find love or success with dating or so on.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be this large.
Yeah, lack of. So specifically, are there going to be like extreme crazed men who think that?
No. I'm talking about incel, like in the actual definition, like in people who would like to be in relationships or would like to have love, but they just can't. They just are maybe socially awkward, or maybe they have hideous disfigurements. So that, like, there's always going to be this group of people, right? Okay.
Less than 1% though.
Okay, so
those who want it, yeah.
Sure. So if we agree that there's always going to be this group of people, I guess my next question would be like, what can we do for the other people that we can't do for these people? Or like, in my opinion, a lot of these guys just like, they're not in a place to be in a relationship with a woman. They don't even love themselves. So how can they expect a woman to love them or spend time on them when they don't even wash their fucking ass and shit like that? Like, there's so many basic things that I think guys are missing out on that, like, I don't blame women for not wanting to
know if they wash their ass, though. When you are talking to a person, you don't know unless you put your face in there for
Okay, obviously when I'm saying that, you know what I mean, like
life skills, and I agree. Why?
Yeah, there are reasons.
Why?
There are reasons that people don't have it together.
Single parenthood affects women just as much. So why is it that men suddenly don't know how to like do basic functioning, but women do?
Because obviously because men have really bad even relationships with each other. Like they're even like men are even afraid to share their emotions with their friends, whereas women are generally much more emotionally mature because they've been, you know.
Well, if they share their emotions with him, he's just going to tell them, just get it together, buddy.
No,
yes, that's what you're saying to people.
I don't think he would do that, right? I think he would actually be really compassionate.
One-on-one, but public persona, not so much.
Nah,
yeah.
It happened.
I mean, bad at this, Heem. Why are they connecting with one another?
Because toxic masculinity goes back to the societal like pressures from be a man, don't fucking cry if you're a kid, da 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 da.
But it doesn't seem a little bit victim blamey to tell them, well, just smarten up and do better when we're already saying everything in society is setting them up to fail on all of this.
They don't need to hear it's your fault. They need to hear, what do you need? Why are you going crazy? Like, what are you looking for this? Okay, so you can figure out how they can get it in a different way. But if you're just projecting your own values onto them, say, oh, just do this, okay, that might not speak to them. That doesn't get them motivated. Okay, it has to come from them.
Women are the way they are and more emotionally, socially mature in that way because it's So we've had to do a lot of the emotional work that wasn't being done by the men.
Gluey, to be honest. Like women have been socialized to be too good at socialization. Like they'll often have no boundaries. They'll people please. They'll let people walk over them. They have a really hard time.
Otherwise, you might get
because they've been
murdered.
Part of why women are so good at relationships, I would argue, to an unhealthy degree, women are good at relationships. Like they can be overly pacifistic in relationships, and it causes a lot of like dangers and issues. The responsibility that we say to women isn't, well, guess you're fucked. You're just gonna have passive relationships, and people like may or may not abuse you, and like, you know, you should probably figure that out. Maybe go to therapy.
I don't understand.
The answer's gonna be like, okay, there's a lot of dynamics going on, right? As an individual, this is how you've been socialized as a woman. This is just something we have to deal with, which is why we have things like assertiveness training for women, which is great. I love assertiveness for training. This is why we teach women how to have boundaries, how to identify what their needs are and communicate those in a healthy way.
Yeah.
What are safety faculties and systems that women can use to keep themselves safe at night, to keep themselves safe in relationships?
Resources.
Yeah, there's tons of this thing. There's none of these for men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
don't have-
Time. It's time for that. We okay. There's a place for agitative rhetoric, right? Like when men were still, I guess, before there was able to be the social pushback by non-men, there has, you know, you could ignore it. Now it feels like they're losing. They feel lost and confused because they're in a world that's increasingly uncomfortable for them. They don't know why, and it's a lot of mental, psychological work to try to sort out, when really, like, most people just want to fucking live, you know? I think we need to stop telling people what they do, or telling them like, oh, you, like, this is your fault, when they didn't necessarily do anything yet. Like,
this is ridiculous. If a guy is being a misogynist asshole, I'm gonna tell him it's your fault that you're having.
If they're being
I know you're gonna tell him that, and it's not gonna do anything.
asshole,
It doesn't matter if it does anything. It's the truth.
But if it's a problem, you want to do something about it.
Bro, I cannot tell a kid who's being misogynist.
All right, sorry, we're
"You
cutting
need
off
to
Aiko.
change society.
We're cutting off Aiko like crazy. Go ahead,
I don't
please,
think that
Aiko.
Thank you. I don't think we're necessarily talking about it from the same perspective. Like I said before, about generalized versus individual. So if an individual is being a misogynistic piece of shit, we would say that, like, this is what you're doing. But if someone is just a person and we don't know if they're an ass washer or not, then it's just like, oh, here are ideas, here are resources, like, give them options of healthy masculine examples or feminine examples or whatever. Does that make sense?
The issue is that the reality is that, I'm sorry, this is kind of victim blaming. There is not another group where you would speak in this way as your prescription of how to fix their life. You wouldn't do it. I don't know if I believe you. There would be more compassion, right? And so I'm not saying that you don't hold people accountable for being a misogynistic piece of shit, right? Of course you can hold people accountable for their actions. Even if you have plethora of trauma, you're still responsible for vomiting on other people and harming them in the response, right? You're still accountable for your actions. The issue is that we have to have this space of saying, why are men like this? And if an entire group of them is becoming increasingly disenfranchised, if women are saying that they can't find quality men are killing themselves at a super high rate, they're not getting educated. We need to actually figure out what the fuck is going on, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps can't be the solution.
Well, of course, I think a part of the solution is, when I become a dad, I'm gonna tell my kid not to be a fucking misogynist asshole, and I'm gonna teach him the values of respect and on all of these things. And I think that societally, you know, I have this big thing where, like, we should always just aim to be a little bit better than our parents were. So where if let's say my dad's dad used to hit him and ran out on his mom. He didn't hit me or run out on my mom, but he wasn't very emotionally available.
Sure,
like,
you're the shield. When my
birthday was, he probably wouldn't remember. So like, so there isn't improvements being made. So I don't agree where there's like, no, this is being rejected. The root of all this is toxic masculinity, which is being addressed in society through schools. A lot of left-leaning parents, I don't know about conservative parents because they're a whole other thing, but toxic masculinity is discussed a lot in society, and we're working to undo that.
I mean, literally, Roe v. Wade.
Talking about.
Like,
Wait, sorry.
All right, hold on. Erudite, then Aiko, please.
Toxic masculinity, all these traits you're talking about, they're getting worse. Like, Roe v. Wade is a great
I
example of this.
disagree. It's not getting worse. People are respecting women. Domestic violence is way lower. People don't hit their wives like they used to.
because they can't get away with it.
this?
Well, yeah, because societally we've addressed.
How would have Trump happened if things like this, like Trump appeals to exactly this? He appeals to the toxically masculine, the like grab her by the pussy, grab what you want from the world. He's appealing to
The
all
system's
of this.
fucked. I want to throw a grenade in
Just
it.
to clarify, hang on, just to clarify, Erudite, you're saying that society has gotten more toxically masculine in the last 50 years, let's say.
Not the last 50 years. I would say in the last 6, it's gotten really, really unhealthy.
Why do you think that is? I'll tell you what I reason.
It's getting
is.
more extreme.
First of all, y'all fucked up by destroying Jordan Peterson's like brain and life. He was selling the best message we've had.
What?
Hold on, even if you don't like him, harm reduction is the most valuable thing we can do for an unhealthy group. Of course it is. There are problems with Jordan Peterson. It would be great if we could take a Jordan Peterson and get a next step of a guy who doesn't hate trans people. That would be
No. We don't need to tolerate
let me-
Jordan Peterson. We need to find a better way to deliver these needs to boys.
Wait. Unless you hate harm reduction, yes, you do. Jordan Peterson didn't sell this thing of men are useless fucktards who only want to fuck women, so that's what you want to be in Bugattis and money. All he said was pick yourself up, take responsibility, figure out what God you want to worship, orient yourself towards the best.
The Heem approach.
And take care of people around you. That was what he was selling to people, and Gen Zers and young men ate it up.
The reason
got destroyed, and then Tate showed up.
No, I disagree. The reason that it's not because Jordan Peterson was taken down by lefties. No, I'm gonna tell you why. The reason is because radical content sells online. It's the same reason why tankies have gotten more popular, why alt-righters have gotten more popular, because the algorithm pushes people towards radicalism. And Andrew Tate is the natural conclusion of a Jordan Peterson pipeline.
No, they pull people towards the radicalism.
I want to hear what...
They pull the people towards the radicalism. What pulls them?
That's why toxic masculinity in the past 6 years has gotten worse. It's because the algorithms and social media platforms push people towards the radical positions, whatever it is, flat earther, JQ, you name it.
QAnon stuff.
Suiciding at a higher rate. Why are they more homeless? Is it because of social media?
Wait,
homelessness has to do with housing. Suicide has to do with depression.
That's to do with desperation.
Women attempt more. Men are more successful at leaving, I guess.
And extremism, which I would agree, of course, that's a factor. But are you really going to try to tell me that that is also a factor? What is accounting for the fact that men are getting educated less?
Because more women are going to school. More women are filling those positions.
And school is school. I feel like school is structured better towards women.
You're shaking your head, but 40 years ago, the percentage of men versus women in colleges was drastically different than it is now. More women are getting educated. I don't think that's a bad thing.
So just men are stupid and suck at school, which is
it's more of a meritocracy now.
There's misinformation everywhere.
60 to 70% of women are just objectively way smarter than men, and men are just stupid and bad at
school. No, it also has to do with the fact that men are more inclined to go into the trades because it's a plethora of things.
Go to school for the trades for the most part. You typically
but when you're talking about the college admissions, I bet if we look at trades, you will see that men are still dominating trades. So what you're talking about is university and more traditional
cosmetology and stuff like that, because there's other trades for like.
Okay, but when I'm talking about trades, I'm talking about like plumbers and shit like that.
Right, and there are other trades that are not building things in a house that are just as good.
The trade are you going to tell me that the trades industry
isn't equality? Of course, it's not.
Oh, sorry, say that again. I cut you off.
One group surpassing another isn't equality. Of course, it's not.
Okay.
No one's surpassing anyone right now.
If 60 to 70% of college admission are women, you're just going to tell me that that's because men are better at school?
It's not 60 to 70%, I don't think, is it?
It's quite high.
Yeah.
It might be 55 to 45.
I just want to clarify on the suicide statistic, because I feel like that's important to say that, women attempt more, but through less violent means. So...
But why are they choosing more dramatic means? Why are men choosing things
because their traditional roles of usefulness had to do with a lot to do with physical strength and sometimes the propensity to deal out violence. It used to make you far more useful, and now that's kind of out of place. But we still have the social mores that push you towards that attitude.
Listen, like you're saying, there's a big
gap,
mismatch. Right? So the gap right now, percentage of adults 25 or older with a bachelor's degree, women 39%, men 30.
I'm talking about the younger generation. I want to look at like
new university graduates.
These are people who got,
including like 60, 70-year-olds, which like, yeah, that's all men.
They're still in the workforce though.
But it doesn't matter. We're talking about young guys. So that slice seeing their stock going down in real time and they're reacting to
going down because they had an advantage in the previous
I know, but that doesn't eliminate from their personal reality that they feel like their stock is going down. Okay.
If being equal to women is too difficult, then I don't know.
No, okay, but that's exactly what I was saying before. You're trying to enforce your objective reality on it, and I get why, okay? But do you understand that doesn't speak to people's internal personal reality, okay? You don't have anything that addresses that, okay? Ever. And you keep hammering on this fucking, yeah, but look at stats, look at this. That doesn't speak to any of the fucking needs that any of these people have, okay? All it does is say, you know what? You're just feeling this because you're fucking stupid. Not because of reasons. Not like somebody cares to actually figure these out, okay? Just because you're a fucking asshole. So stop being a fucking asshole and everything's gonna be great. And the guy's thinking like I don't know how to be not a fucking asshole because I'm just trying to fucking make it out here.
Do you think admitting it is the first step? Acknowledging it, maybe?
That's what I'm saying. People going out and showing people small opportunities to make small progress, and I think that's what Erudite was saying about Jordan Peterson. Okay, is that he offered kind of this lower level, like, okay, here are small steps you can do to start being a useful person, right? And I feel like that kind of message, responding to that kind of need, is something that maybe men need to take care of to encourage each other to do. All right.
Of course, yeah. Well, if a guy can't get laid, I'm not going to tell him, yo, go try and have a one-night stand with a 10 out of 10 at the club.
No,
obviously,
what will you tell him?
Hey, maybe try fucking getting out of your house. Maybe try getting out of your house first.
Talking about from the same vantage point right now. I don't know. I feel like we might be talking about very slightly different things, Heem, because you seem like focused on the people that are already like doing fucked up things. Like I'm more thinking about like people who are vulnerable to people who taking in those horrible messages that have been, fucking us up this entire time. Like moving forward.
Yeah, if we're going to be intersectional, we have to talk about obstacles that men are facing and look at them, right? The reality is, I'd be really curious. I tried really hard to find studies on this, but demographic research on this is like somewhat hard to come by, which I'd be really curious to know, like, we're talking about men. How are Black men doing when it comes to education compared to like Black women? How are Hispanic men? Because if men are experiencing certain systemic disadvantages that are doing them harm, then the people who are going to be most harmed are the people that we care about. It's going to be low socioeconomic men. It's going to be Black men, people of color. It's going to be Indigenous men. And that these people matter. They matter a lot.
Milton, nice to see you. Thank you for your comments.
Because there is still white privilege. There is still like colorism going on in dating. And so it's like, these things matter.
But these are intersectional. I don't even know if these are societal or if they're cultural. Like, how do you fix cultural?
It doesn't matter. You can't fix cultural anything.
So
you can only fix your messaging.
She asked me how I differentiate. I would say systemic is something where it's like an institutional based bias or
we're a part of it. We can't change it independently, but we all have the system.
Guys, if healthcare is shitty, we can say the institution of healthcare needs more funding. We need to get rid of private insurance companies. But when culture has a problem, male culture, how do you address that?
Education. It seems like education is failing men. Why? What's going on? Men are disproportionately getting diagnosed with ADHD and fetal alcohol and other learning disorders. They're disproportionately getting given very strong tranks as children, antipsychotic things. We also don't seem to know how to manage boys' emotions very well. So I've taught classes to parents. We're going to talk about, it is very standard that when we're talking about distressed kids, girls tend to internalize to express their emotions. They're going to cry. They're going to like receive inwards. They're going to write. They're going to go on Tumblr. Whereas boys tend to externalize. They're going to scream. They want to throw things, punch things. Now, the issue is that we've completely turned externalizations into really, really evil moral things because they have higher risk of doing damage to other people. So what do we do when we co-parent children? When a little girl gets upset, she's going to cry, and we're going to hug her, we're going to hold her, we're going to rub her back, and we're going to co-regulate. Great. That's 10 out of 10 parenting. What do we do with boys? They're going to start stomping their feet. They're going to start throwing their toys around. And what do we say?
No.
Go to your room.
Yeah. No, you're going to stop this.
Go to your room.
This is the thing, though. They're not like this because
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
No,
Yes,
I mean, they are
I
like
agree.
they are like this. But this is a part of gender role reinforcement by other people. Listen,
What is it then?
There's no evidence for
listen.
that.
Are
Hold
you
on, hold on.
biologically
Aiko, then
essentializing-
Erudite, please.
There is strong evidence to suggest specifically in boy humans that they have much more rigid behavior patterns, particularly under the age of 12. This is very well substantiated.
Your environment affects you, and you carry it. You can have genetic trauma.
This is not well borne out. There is not good science. This is where Judith Butler has really failed us.
What about
There is really not good
why do
science for
people
this
get
claim.
like OCD and stuff like that?
Sorry, what? Why do they get OCD?
Okay, like so for instance, I have OCD.
Mhm.
It was absolutely influenced, triggered, and I guess worsened by my upbringing. So it has shaped me a lot. We are shaped by our surroundings from day one.
Of course. Yeah.
Like things are being like we have society the way it is, and so we're passively learning. Like we're learning what words are, and we're also learning how people interact with each other. When we do treat children like that separately, but that's also because we expect girls to cry and we tell boys to not cry. We're doing this to them. You know what I mean?
It might be. It might be that they just see dad being angry, all right, and they feel like that's how I'm going to express my emotions too.
So the
And they
issue with
say
like things like
calm cry.
testosterone, for example, is like if you talk to anyone who's taken like estrogen and T, like we've really underestimated the power of like hormones on emotions. Like it's wild.
I mean, like when I took the Plan B, I took Plan B twice in my life, and both times I cried for like 5
Me
weeks.
too. I was
Yeah.
I was crazy, right? And so this is why when we're looking, so this isn't a biological essentialist position. Of course, there's actually multiple things going on. We've got hormones, we've got genetics going on.
Right.
Hormones can change over time. Your diet can change that, but
But your biology is a component. It is a component.
Your
Yeah.
biology
Everything is
and your
component.
socialization. There seems to be some level of biological inheritance that boys still tend to externalize. We see this in the most liberal, very, very like non-gender, because we've had enough families like that are this style that we can study them. We see the exact same play out, that when you have a biological male and he's under 3, under 5, he still seems to just express his emotions usually like this. Now, there are some boys who don't, and there are some girls who don't. That's because it's not biologically essentialist. There's some level of spectrum that goes on within this. What I'm saying, though, is that if boys are doing this, even let's just assume it's purely socialized, which because these are kind of two separate arguments. My argument is, regardless of why boys are doing this, when they're getting mad and they're tantruming, they're sent to their room. The issue is that there are healthy ways to externalize emotions, and we haven't even explored this as a science very well, right? Going and exercising, sprinting, right? Screaming into the void, smashing things that you don't need anymore, punching these things. None of these are associated with higher levels of violence, and they're all just associated with good externalization of emotion. But what do we do to boys when they have emotions? We tell them to go away
And calm
I don't
down.
wanna see you,
Just go
I
out
don't
and calm
wanna feel
down.
it.
So
Calm down.
That's my
When
whole point.
when you've dealt with your own shit, then you can re-engage with society.
That's my whole point.
Right,
though.
right.
Guys, that's my
point.
whole point, is that this is a cultural thing and not really an institutional thing that can be easily addressed. The solution you're giving is that everyone should parent their child and tell them to respect consent and treat them to be
boundaries,
emotionally
use
open.
words
and
to
all
express
of
your
these,
emotions.
obviously, I would agree with all of this, right? But when you have a kid, and I think this has been the trend overall, like I think things are improving. I know the emphasis on consent is way more in schools now. I see little kids, like they won't even go and touch another kid because it's like personal space is very emphasized and stuff like this. So when you guys say, oh, these things aren't being addressed, in fact, I do think they are being addressed. These things are all talked about, like don't fucking hit your kids is a great way to have them not be emotionally closed off. You know, don't like lash out or don't you know, like yell at them, treat them like humans, whatever. All of these things are already emphasized, and they're already having their effects for the future generations. So I don't know what else you guys.
Well, who wants to be non-toxic Andrew Tate, all right? Do you feel like it's not your responsibility to deal with this?
I mean, for my own kid, when I have a kid?
for your broadcasting messaging.
Listen, I told you, if anyone's watching our streams, that means they're already kind of grown up. So to them, I don't give societal solutions. I give them individual solutions because they're the individual who's listening. I'm not going to tell them, go back and tell your dad to not hit you when you were a kid, and then maybe you'll be a little bit more emotionally open. Obviously, that's not an option. To that person, I would say, hey, maybe just start by treating women as equals. Don't think of them as sex objects right away when you first start talking to them. But... would you say that's victim blaming?
You just said though earlier that 22-year-olds or 18-year-olds or whatever are not interested, never, no matter what, right?
No, I said they're looking. Their main thing is to rack up as many girls as they can, not like to settle down and have an amazing relationship.
Right, but are you talking about the people who are being influenced, or are you talking about people like Andrew Tate who are the influencers?
No, I'm talking about the viewers of these people.
Okay,
the people who are struggling with women or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, like people who are being introduced to him, you know, the pipeline, people who are like getting like not there yet. When they hear you say that, like what it sounds like to me is saying like you are like kind of like you're kind of like pushing them away, like they can't be better. You know what I mean?
Not true at all.
Right now, anyone listening.
Yeah, you're describing young men as basically like aggressive sex pests who only want to rack up numbers. They don't care about women, and that's all. They just want Bugattis and all these things.
One sec.
That's not what
wait.
are.
Also, if they're hang on, I gotta clarify this. Go. If they're not thinking that, they are probably already in relationships, or they're healthy enough that they don't need to watch Andrew Tate's content. If they're watching Andrew Tate's content, chances are, yeah, that's probably how they view the world and women.
Well, they might be going to go, like I said before, Nick Fuentes, Richard Spencer. Like there are other options.
Yeah, they'll find one option that gives them meaning and purpose.
Those are the only groups giving voice to men's issues and being like, yeah there's some shit out there that's rough.
They're the only groups validating their feelings. Yeah.
This is well, why Steve and I are making our dating show. We're like, how the fuck do we connect with these men who are so desperate for just anything and not just try to tell them that women are Stacey's and that they're like all they want is your money and you just like should rack up as many wives as you can. But the solution isn't saying you don't really have issues. Yeah, you're getting less educated, but why would you complain? That just comes from a history of your advantage. None of this is ever going to appeal to them. It is going to drive them further and further away from you, and it is going to head them into the pipeline of Sneekos and Nick Fuenteses, because those guys at least say, yeah, it's rough out there. And this is what I always say, nobody gives a fuck about your facts until you care about their feelings. And this is true for men as it is for anyone else. At least Andrew Tate, as uncaring and as unmental health, he's at least sympathetic to their plight.
Yep.
And that's something.
These are the same guys who don't even believe in depression. I don't know what
he talks, but he talks to them about not feeling useful, about feeling taken advantage of, about feeling restless, and not knowing what to do. Okay, but needing a direction.
They're targeting a sexually frustrated crowd. Yeah,
I think
it's meaningfulness too.
They talk about how institutions seem to be increasingly opposed against them. They talk about how like wild, crazy rad femmes are blaming these young men for everything. They're talking about the fact that school and institutions, particularly education, seem increasingly biased towards women. They teach in a more feminine style than they used to in the past. And they talk about these issues and then they make lies on top of them. But if you get that grain of truth, you can build a whole lot of sinister lies.
That's everything. Yeah.
You're just being uncompassionate. You're literally telling them, I don't even care. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
No, hang on. Do you think that if I tell someone, listen, go talk to a therapist and deal with your childhood trauma, is that not sympathetic?
No, that is so dismissive.
Yeah.
It's so dismissive.
I might not have access. I don't want to. I'm not ready to see one yet.
So okay, hang on. Okay. I'm getting cheesed.
You're
what
Canadian.
do you guys?
Canadians. Listen.
what do you guys suggest? I guess so guy has these views. He and you guys think that we should like affirm their I guess views that like feminism is cancer. And,
No. Try to figure out why
Hang
they
on,
think
I
feminism.
do.
No,
When-
what they're mad at
sometimes
and
feminists-
why it hurts
sometimes
them.
Sometimes when women say like kill all men or men are all trash, I push back against that 100%. Okay.
I know you do, but think about if you're 18 and you see, like, I know this because I talk about men's mental health on TikTok, for example, all the time. And I'm pretty tame. Like, I just outline what common issues are. I don't get overly spicy. And then sometimes I'll call out women for making, like, extremely misandrous comments, and everyone's like, yes, queening her. And my videos get taken down. I get called a pick-me. I get attacked constantly. And I'm a fucking woman. I'm a white woman. I'm an attractive, young, white woman. Like, I have all of the privilege and then some. And I'm still getting called sexist terms. I'm getting dismissed. I'm told, why the fuck would I care about men? I'm told all of these things. So yes, we need to be more compassionate. We
Everyone
have
can
to,
be
because
toxic.
I'm a reasonable one, and I'm still getting shouted down. Think about what's happening to your 16-year-old stupid kid who's trying to be frustrated with their teachers and what their teachers are saying to them.
Unless you think it's not a problem.
Honestly,
I mean, it, obviously any problem is a problem, right? Like if you have
It's not a problem for you.
I just don't know how big of a problem. I guess.
I think it's survivor bias.
Maybe.
I
guess my point is like my point is I guess
feel good to anyone who's struggling.
my point is I can acknowledge all of the societal things, which is again going back to what you were saying. Parenting is a big part of it. Pushing don't cry, telling little boys don't cry, suck it up, like little boys don't cry, whatever shit like that. All of that is really the root of all of this. And again, going back to it, the Western nuclear family of mom and dad are working till 6 p.m. They don't even have time to talk to their kids most of the time. They're like growing up on the iPad. I already acknowledged all of these things.
But you tell them
I
just
already
don't be a
acknowledged all of
misogynist,
these
don't be a
things.
shithead, basically.
But I would
instead of
still
not
say,
cry, it's
like,
just
yeah,
not being
like,
a
listen,
shithead.
I don't know. I guess in the most compassionate way, you're not gonna have success with women until you treat them as equals, until you're able to have a
That's not
non-flirtatious
true.
conversation.
That's not true. This is the issue. This is the issue. This is why people like Andrew Tate and Sneeko and guys who
Yeah, because they're reaffirming. Of course, I know why they exist. They're reaffirming what these guys want to hear. I know.
women are dating them.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Yeah, this is a problem for me. This is a problem for me. My daughter has to go out there and deal with these guys.
The reason.
She's dating a guy who literally bullied her on Twitter for a while.
There-
Like, unironically, this shit kind of works. This is the problem. This is why I give pickup artist skills without any of the misogyny or ethics behind it, because it works. I don't know why. I do know why, and I try to talk to women about being like, hey, know your value. Don't settle for love that's less. Women have all sorts of problems, probably also coming to some degree from like the distinct lack of fatherlessness and all sorts of things that are going on in society, right? So the issue.
Do you think the majority of women are attracted to this kind of?
young women are absolutely dating these men? This is why they're successful.
Sorry. So do you think the majority of young women are into this? Being
think-
like,
Miami
I guess.
girls.
Sorry.
I think like Miami girls and stuff.
Okay,
like
but
that.
Miami's one city, right? I'm talking about like let's say America and Canada, the average Canadian girl.
Yeah, I
Or
think
average. Sorry.
certain techniques work. So, for example, teasing and negging.
Yeah,
works.
of
Not
course.
everyone.
But my
You
point
said
is,
misogynistic at the beginning.
sorry.
You said negging was misogynistic.
No, I think no. I think that negging is a tactic that can work if you start from a place of having some level of respect for the other person. But the problem is that these guys aren't socialized properly from a young age. So when they reach 18, to them negging is like, get in the fucking, make me a sandwich. That's to them negging, but that's not how negging works. So they're not even doing it properly. That's what I was getting at earlier.
I get that. The issue is that like we have two things going on in the dating issue. And the problem is that I'm not going to blame either group exclusively. When women go and stick with men who treat them like trash, who tell them go make me a sandwich, and they go like hee 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 and stuff like that. I tell these women,
I don't think.
well, I'd speak to them and I say like, don't accept the love that you like. You accept the love that you believe that you deserve.
Yeah.
Is that these women are taking love that's really terrible, because it seems like we've got a pretty broken society, right? But the issue is that if you tell men pickup artists are just misogynistic pieces of shit, blah 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 blah, and they go maybe, but they sure are getting girls, it seems to be working. And then all of their alternative, typically on the left side, particularly with like blue-pilled people, is being like, be nice to women. And they're like, well, I've been trying that, and that seems not to be working. And this guy's a fucking asshole, and he's pulling in way more girls than me, which is why I try to give way more practical things of like maximizing agency and what that specifically looks like to make sure women are as safe as possible on dates. I tell men, think about aesthetic. You need to improve your looks. This matters. Wipe your butthole, right?
I say the same, yeah.
So this is good advice, but you have to do it in the lens of being like, yeah, dating's rough out there for guys. It's just rough, right?
To be honest with you, I gotta say, from everything...
They don't actually want in men. They will reject you because they're like, well, your belt didn't match your shoes. And like crazy shit like this. Online dating for men is it's nightmare mode. It's just really, really hard. And for lots of understandable reasons on the women's side as to why they don't want to be online dating, but it doesn't change the descriptive reality that it's rough out there for men in certain things, particularly in dating.
So the reason that I guess I disagree with you here is that I think it's actually just worse for women. The pool of guys that they have to, like, all you have to do to be a moderately successful guy in the dating pool is just have a little bit of compassion. I see some of my girlfriends and the choices that they're choosing from, it's like one asshole after the other. They can't have any luck. They're just meeting asshole after asshole, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't think I'm a particularly fucking handsome guy. I'm sure, I'm fucking balding, but I know that if I went out there, I could crush it because I know how to listen to a girl when she's talking. And it's like these basic things are not emphasized.
Well, they're not taught. They're not taught. It's a learned skill, whether you learn it from your entourage when you're growing up with social relationships. But if you're not learning it and you don't have it, where do you learn it? Right? You learn it from this asshole. Okay, it's not like it's taught in school and you don't have a dad to show you.
I don't think you understand how like looks matters a little bit to women, but you know what really matters to women? You're right. No, it's not just compassion.
Confidence.
It's charisma and confidence.
Yeah.
And you have both of those in spades. You're a very charismatic guy, which even if you try to learn the skills, there's a bit of a natural talent to it, and you got it. You're lucky, dude. You're very charismatic. You're easy to chat to. We can roast each other on Twitter. And still have
True.
You're good at this. You got a nice big smile. You're getting your fucking PhD. Like, most guys are working with a lot less. They're not charismatic. They're not very funny. They're not very attractive. They don't even have a high school diploma.
So why should they be successful in a relationship if they have nothing to offer?
But telling them fuck you, it's your fault isn't the solution.
No, but telling them bring something to the table is.
Yeah, but how do I get there? I don't know. It's your fucking problem. Exactly.
Get a career,
I don't know.
do
Fucking
something.
fix it. It's the same message. Oh, it's your problem. It's your problem, which is fine. You know, you're not here to babysit. You're not here to be their dad. Okay.
Just don't understand. If someone has nothing to bring to the table, they don't have looks, they don't have confidence, they don't have charisma.
Characteristics. You've got high IQ. You're getting a PhD. You're decently attractive. That's mostly genetics as well. Some level aesthetic, but like you've got high cheekbones and stuff like this. You're bringing multiple immutable characteristics, and you're naturally charismatic as well, which is probably a mixture of your personality. So you have a whole bunch of like large characteristics.
I agree.
Dudes that are low IQ, they're not attractive, and they don't have a very good personality.
Well, this goes back to my question from before, where I asked you, do you think there will always be a group of people that exist in society who are incels? And you said yes.
I said less than 1%, but
sure, not everyone deserves. Not everyone deserves. Let me backtrack. Everyone deserves that, be it loved and feel intimacy and so on and so forth. But not everyone. Not everyone is in a place in their life or has enough to bring where they're like, I don't understand. Like, what do we do? Like, state mandated girlfriends? I don't know what.
No. Not solving systemic issues, but I mean, just recognize that there's a need for these guys to up their state or their lot in life. All right, and
I tell them, go work in a restaurant.
No, but telling them to do that doesn't encourage them to do that. Okay.
They can't get hired.
Sorry, Erudite?
They can't get a job or get hired. Most of these guys, like.
Some can, some can't, but it's like telling them to just do it. They have things. No, don't you think they've tried to just do some stuff? It's not working out for some reason. They have stuff. They need to identify it and mitigate it and stuff, but they don't even have that fucking mindset. It's not something that we teach to kids.
Okay, so then what?
The issue is you need to extend compassion, because when you say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that's the same shit conservatives do to every disadvantaged group, and it's fucking annoying, right? It's fucking annoying.
That is true.
Because your feelings matter, right? If I sat there and sat in front of black people and I was just like, just go to school and try harder, and they're like, yeah, but like our schools are really poor and our teachers are really
systemic. That's systemic. You're talking about cultural issues.
Yes.
You're talking about cultural issues. You're talking about confidence,
We're talking about the
charisma.
cultural
These are
issue of
not school
toxically
funding.
masculine young guys.
Fatherlessness, an education system that's biased towards the feminine, therapy that's biased towards feminine and like dominantly focused on women. All of these are systemic institutional problems that a single dude can't do diddly shit about. That's why I'm making money helping guys find therapists, because it's so fucking hard to find a good therapist for men, because we're actually trained typically on things that seem to be a little bit better with women.
I can concur. By the way, when I look for a therapist, they basically acknowledge that unless I was about ready to murder suicide my entire family in Minecraft, right? That I wasn't a priority. All right. I mean, we have some nice.
Well, you got a shit therapist. I don't know.
No. This is just finding one. This is just finding one with like CLSE or whatever. Okay, and you just end up paying it for private. That was difficult too, but we found one.
I'm going to be really unpopular. We need role models that don't get demonized with head-ass lefties trying to cancel them constantly. And the problem is, and I know nobody's going to like this, Jordan Peterson was better than Tate.
He was, sure.
And everyone demonized. And I'm seeing in fucking comments of people being like, well, why would we take one evil or the other? Have you never heard of harm reduction?
No
one can try to compare Jordan Peterson's message to Tate. No one can. And the issue is that but you guys are demonizing Peterson while I'm talking here. Literally like a pretty decent guy who came up who has some issues. He's got some. But his rhetoric for men was fucking based. It was get responsible, orient yourself towards a healthy archetype of masculinity, and do your best to take care of the people that you love. That shit was awesome, and he got brutally attacked for it constantly because he pointed out some.
Did he get brutally attacked for that?
Yes.
Or did he get brutally attacked for transphobic comments that he was making
No, it
and
was
shit?
mostly the feminist stuff.
Or the C-16 bill in Canada and stuff.
So that's what
that was his biggest things.
So his biggest.
Yeah, he has bad things. She's saying that he's not as bad as Tate. And I say, fuck harm reduction. You need to find solutions. Fuck Jordan Peterson. Fuck harm reduction. You just need to find solutions. You don't even know the system. You don't even know the second degree harm you're causing with any kind of measure you're doing. Okay? You don't know. All you could do is try your own little experiments. Okay? I'm sorry, what? Wait, okay.
No safe injection sites. No harm reduction treatment centers. Just fuck all those.
No, I just don't. I don't think we're smart enough to know that they actually work in the way. Or sorry, they work, but they don't. But they might cause unintended consequences. Okay, go on.
On Jordan Peterson's. The #1 viewed video is Biblical Series Introduction to the Idea of God. That's his #1, 11 million. The second one is one of his newest shit. It's cringy. Identity Politics and the Marxist Lie of White Privilege. Not great. Not my favorite. Second one, a documentary, A Glitch in the Matrix. Third, Maps of Meaning, Context and Reality. Fourth, lecture, 12 Rules for Life tour, and then finally returning home and talking about being sick. Those are his most viewed videos. I wonder what Andrew Tate's were, or Fresh and Fits.
Well, you think I'm going to disagree with you about Jordan Peterson being... Wait, hang on. Who are you arguing with right now? I agree with that. I agree with you. I agree.
He's bad, he's evil, and that it's good that he's gone. And it's actually insane because
Tate or Peterson?
Peterson. When I started, you guys said he's misogynistic piece of shit, and it's good that he's gone, and he was just as bad, more or less. And that isn't true.
Okay, I
a good male role model who had his flaws. There were a lot of them. But the things that we did is we eroded that, and instead of him, now we have fucking Andrew Tate.
No, Andrew Tate would have come up even if we didn't cancel Jordan Peterson. Okay.
True.
Okay, we'll never know anyways.
You think Peterson was the vaccine to Tate? He created he sucked up the biological resources so it would choke out the other thing.
Do I think methadone helps people stop dying from heroin more often? Yes.
Can I just say, so you're thing was lefties need to stop canceling other male role models that are slightly
Male
more
role models, yeah.
sure. And I'm telling you that even if that were the case, this content, and this is what I wrote in the thread when we were going back and forth. I said, regardless of what you and I do, the next Tate is coming because that is the content these guys want to hear. It's like telling a flat earther, hey, listen, like there's a sick physics channel,
Jordan
like
Peterson would have never existed if this is what they want to hear, and you know that.
Jordan
Men-
Peterson appeals to a different group of guys.
No,
Jordan,
he
wait,
No,
one
he
sec.
was telling them
Jordan
the same
Peterson-
thing.
Oh, guys, Jordan Peterson's appeal is about religion and a Christian.
No, it's about being
traditionalism
strong and
stuff
needed.
like that.
It's about.
And his is about materialist.
They're both
fucking
the same
bitches.
thing. They're responding to being to feeling strong, to feeling needed, to feeling useful, to feel like there's a purpose. They all
Responsibility and masculinity. The issue is that Andrew
Those
Tate
are just
is
overlapping
unethical
things that they
piece of
both.
garbage. He's an unethical piece of shit. Jordan Peterson and all of his flaws wasn't. I don't think there's any evidence of Jordan Peterson conning women and men out of money. I don't think there's any evidence of Jordan Peterson, for example, having a whole bunch of cam girls work for him and he takes 100 to 50% of their income. I don't think we have any evidence of him blatantly lying to clients to get as much money
Okay.
out of them as possible.
You're-
There's no evidence of Jordan Peterson doing this.
you're
obviously.
really on this like go Jordan Peterson train here.
Compared to
It's like compared to Tate. Okay. All right.
Obviously, I don't
Only
disagree.
compared to
Yeah, I
Tate,
don't
really?
disagree. But that
passionate.
doesn't mean that all of their audience is direct overlap. What I'm saying is that they.
going from dirt garbage to like slightly less dirt garbage. Like these are worlds apart, and if you can't see that Tate and Jordan Peterson is worlds apart, you're insane. Jordan Peterson, for men specifically, was mostly just excellent. He was pro mental health. He encouraged people to get therapy, to go on their medication. Yes, he was dog shit about trans people, and it was fucking awful. It was wrong.
Well,
I
hang on? Let me
get
ask you a
that.
question.
But there is like we can't say like yeah, of course I guess he's a little bit better than Tate. They were
No, he
worlds
is.
apart, and they destroyed one good model for men.
Wait, fine. Hang on one sec. When you're first of all, you're saying they destroyed it. He destroyed himself. He got a drug addiction or something, right?
No, oh no.
Isn't that why he went away? Sorry, isn't that why he went away?
Jordan Peterson, his wife almost died of stage 4 cancer. He's been on benzodiazepines because he's had chronic depression since he was 12, and he
Okay.
didn't realize that when you come off of this, sometimes there is.
What does that have to do with the left?
Well, he had a breakdown and everyone went fucking ham on him. They're like, 12 rules for life. Couldn't keep yourself out of a fucking mental institution.
I always called when anyone did that, I said they shouldn't do that. But you're acting like the left dragged him down. He had a mental health crisis.
Him as being like the fucking Nazi king long before any of this happened. They literally said that he was like a king toxic man. That he was all these terrible.
Who cares?
things.
People haters gonna hate. What's the point?
No, who cares? These people.
Who?
We lost Jordan Peterson to the right.
The Jordan Peterson is a conservative.
Now he is.
No, he was always a Christian
No, he
conservative.
wasn't.
He was
No,
a Christian. If you go back and watch his.
No, he was a libertarian. He was a libertarian
If you-
with Christian. he
But
was
listen,
Christian
hang on.
libertarian.
He
If
voted for fucking-
you're gonna tell me that
entirely.
you're gonna tell me that someone can base their worldview on biblical scripture and come out as a progressive or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
All of his
Yeah, that can happen.
justifications
Absolutely.
were biblical.
You're lying. You don't know anything about this man. You've literally never watched any of his shit. He's
I mean, I
not
have.
a Christian now. He's never been a Christian up until this point. He was a
Those-
staunch atheist. He's a prolific clinical psychologist at U of T.
Those videos.
Respected clinical psych programs in Canada, by the way, and he has an N score of fucking 46. That's like 15 points away from being Nobel laureate. He's a very well-respected individual. You don't actually know anything about the man. You've read obviously you guys have read headlines, and you don't know anything about him.
Listen, I've heard those
Damn.
talks that he had talking about the DNA of the what is it, the
Now I wanna fuck him.
crustaceans and stuff like that. I've heard all those.
A great map for how we understand the serotonergic system. We still use lobsters.
Okay, but he goes back and always roots it in the Bible.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't connect serotonergic systems. He talks about evu psych. You want to talk to a Christian about evolutionary psychology? Good fucking luck. Christians don't even like him that much because he loves evolution, for example.
Okay.
Synergistic systems being based in
Oh, he's just recently become Christian conservative? You're saying he's just recently become a Christian conservative?
No, Christians don't like him because he treats the Bible, and I think this is correct. He treats the Bible as stories that tell things about us.
So,
is that correct?
That
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he like believes in evolution. He's very pro science. He's like
I
pro.
Oh shit, I was muted.
I feel from this perspective, I understand him. I feel like it's the same background, religious background, but
you're saying he's pro science, but like his edging anti-vax rhetoric very highly for the entire pandemic.
Post brain injury, he's been
okay. And the brain injury was a cause. You could say it was. I don't think I'm gonna agree with you that lefties caused his mental breakdown or something like that. He had issues with
his mental breakdown.
The thing that we saw with Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse was just like a normal kid who was so attacked brutally once he got out of his trial by the left that he is now a poster child for the conservatives. The left does this all the time.
Do you think he wasn't conservative before that?
He was probably leaning right, but I don't.
Okay, so then there you go.
Aiko, I feel like you have something to say on this.
Shooting and killing media members. Like
I think that this is a fucking ridiculous thing. I think that this is very parasocial. That's it.
With what?
What's parasocial?
I don't know.
Just specify, please. What's parasocial?
You don't know these people. What is the use of this?
The use of what? Of talking like this? Us four?
Peterson is like whatever you think he was before. We can disagree. He's brain dead now. We can agree with that, right? He's
that's right. He's gone. Peterson's gone. What are you going to do now?
The reason this is important is because Erudite is saying that lefties being mean to him made him go down the right wing.
I think that's pretty
get demonized by the left.
Sorry?
I don't know who the left is. Like I don't know. Like that's everyone that's not on the right.
Yeah. At a definition.
How have people been?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, what do you mean by left? I'm curious because I hate this fucking label.
Sure. So typically, if you tend to lean left, you're gonna like usually vote Democratic or liberal in Canada. There's gonna be all sorts of standard things associated with it. And there seems to be a like partisan culture that's formed. For example, if you're on the left,
that side of the fence. That side of the fence. You identify as left. You just have an overbearing feeling that you're left and identify with the mores of left, mostly. Is that what you're saying?
Are we now arguing the political spectrum?
No, possibly. I'm just saying, like, to sum everything up, instead of detailed lists, essentially, you have a feeling that you're on the left, right?
Me personally?
No. As someone who identifies as being on the left, it's a whole group that just kind of on this cluster of ideas. Is that what you're saying? As far as the left who canceled Jordan Peterson?
It tends to emerge. There's a bit of personality factors that do seem to predict the political leaning, but it's a political leaning. You tend to be more kind of social welfare. You tend to like value. There's a whole cluster of things that come with being part of the left.
Okay.
Are you wanting me to, like,
vague left then.
Political. Okay.
Isn't it more like people on Twitter?
Dominantly for left-leaning politicians. I know I do. Does anybody else in this vote for left-leaning politicians?
Yeah, probably.
Listen, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, fine. Sorry. Yeah, we got too deep into the specification.
I guess
he's a bad monster, or did that with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? This is like the monolith. The conservatives do this, by the way, too. Like when we talk about the right, we know who we're talking about. They typically like think that like climate change isn't true. They tend to like really like Trump. They also don't believe in most institutions of science. They tend to be very anti-vax, and they always typically vote Republican, right? Like we can cluster these into groups. The issue is that when it comes to good male role models, where is the left's good role models for men that care about men's issues, that are empathetic to their problems? Where are they?
About the left, what is that?
Yeah, no, but that kind of general, that kind of general, gonna vote Democrat, sort of, that general direction. Yeah, who's their big male figure? Actually, it's a decent question. I'm not in the. Yeah. Does anything come to mind?
I think this is terminally
Hassan?
Twitter.
I guess I think a lot of people were saying Hassan is an option, or listen. In general, I agree with you, but I think the reason that there isn't one is because the way that I view the world is not popular amongst, I guess, like frustrated early 20s guys who, you know, like, because they don't want to hear that, like,
You're listening to me and Steven.
well, listen, you and Steven are doing a good job of going on those platforms and pulling the ones that are able to come over. But you're not growing naturally and tapping into these audiences. You guys are directly going and engaging with them, which I 100% will agree with. So I have no issue with that.
How are we doing it? I'm not doing it by dismissing men's problems, saying that there isn't any systemic issues, and being broadly just uncompassionate to men's issues. I'm doing it by doing the opposite of these things, but I'm unwilling to lean into misogynistic rhetoric.
I guess, yeah, like, if you want to be sympathetic to their framing and say, like, women are a little bit evil, and then give your solution, then that's fine. I guess I just don't want to budge on that.
No, hold on. I just said that I would never say women.
Their framing, in my opinion, is wrong.
Every day about how women are fucking the nicest people on the planet. They're good at relationships. They do all the charity work. When women have to choose a job, most of them fucking pick nursing, which is the nicest fucking job you could pick.
True.
I think a lot of women are cunts, though.
Yeah, sure. Some women are cunts, but
some women will abuse you and treat you horribly.
That is true.
But just because it happens doesn't mean that it's overall against men, right? We have to teach them that those individual experiences are not representative of the whole of a people, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Don't project your terrible woman on all women.
These guys have been like, yeah, women are kind of awful, aren't they? That's not what I'm doing. I'm not interested in that bullshit, because they're not. Women are very educated, they're smart, they're doing most of the charity, and they're fucking nice. Women are just nice and kind and good at relationships, which is based, by the way. But the issue is that if I say, and that's the end, and you're all a bunch of fuck-ups who should pick yourself up, figure your shit out, and stop being such a
fuck-ups, but you can say, hey, listen, maybe you should be a little bit nicer. Maybe you should try treating women as equals.
And then they'll say, yeah, I was trying to be nice to girls, and they told me, why didn't you try more? Or then I saw them go off with some fucking douchebag loser with a Bugatti.
Okay, well, listen, you're never gonna beat a guy with a Bugatti. That shit's fire. But, like, obviously, if you're trying to listen, if you value Bugattis in life, then you're lost. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing I can say that's gonna get you out of that mindset that Bugattis don't matter. That healthy relationships are what matters.
Well,
they're just gonna have to learn that to change their mentality. And no matter how much you tell them or I tell them, this has to come from within. This has to be personal growth that these people experience.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How do you bridge that gap? How do you speak to what the guys are really hungry for? Really? And yeah, I think the whole point for the last half hour is that telling them to fuck off ain't gonna do it, but what can, basically. And then I guess you're asking the same thing.
Decent male role models probably isn't the best strat either, right?
Sorry, say that again. I missed the first part.
Attacking decent male role models probably isn't the best strat either.
Like Papa Peterson. That's right.
Yeah, we have to get honest about certain scientific facts. For example, it does seem to be the case that most men choose trad relationships and most women choose to be in trad relationships to some extent. The issue is that not all women want to be in trad relationships.
Real talk here. The first time they said Bugatti, I thought they were saying Bukkake, and I thought men wanted Bukkake, and I was like, yeah, that's true.
It happens in these types of relationships, but how do we make it ethical, voluntary, and happy for both parties involved, regardless of who's dom or sub? How do we do all these things? And it feels
Don't you think sometimes
doesn't even want to be honest about it. They're being like, of course that's not true. We can't make these generalized statements that like women prefer these things and that men prefer these things. And it's like they just fucking do.
Well, you don't want to generalize, right? But I think all of the things you're speaking of are nuances that an individual has to sort out for themselves in a relationship. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to any of these things. So what advice could you possibly give?
60% of people.
Sorry?
There's probably one size that will fit for about 60% of people.
For what, though? Which part of the dynamic?
For relationship dynamics.
That's for us to discover.
Prescriptions? Yeah, like, what do we need?
Normative prescriptions.
Because
it seems to be the case that women prefer to work less. Women still generally prefer to stay home with their kids.
Let people do what they want to do, though. Like,
That's
doesn't that reinforce the association with, oh, you're not really a man if you do these certain jobs or
No.
you're the caretaker.
How would anything that I've just said say you're not a man if you don't do these things?
You
I
are
tell them,
encouraging it to
How?
stay within the parameters of certain gender roles, encouraging women to do those kinds of things.
I'm saying gender roles exist, and it seems to be the case that the genders somewhat select for them. But if you want to be a man that doesn't select for them, that's fucking based.
Yeah, but you're still putting them on the other kind of man instead of just letting people have their family structures and their relationships and
express
do it
themselves in
Yeah.
their lives. Yeah.
without harm.
Go-
For direction.
These men are looking for direction. They have no good role models. They don't have dads. There's
Yeah.
very few dads that are even solid and good. They're looking for somebody to tell them how to be because they are young, and that's what young people do. So the idea of being like, just be who you want to be, they're like, I don't know who that is.
No.
It's true. No, it's true though. It's true though. Sorry, if you're a fun, decent dad, okay, and kids are running around you and stuff like that, they love to play with you. They listen to you. Okay, it's actually kind of surreal. Other people's kids just running around, okay, and you can tell them, hey, you need to relax there a bit, and they fucking do it. Okay, it's really surreal. Okay, people gravitate towards like, okay, this person makes me feel safe. You know, and I feel like I can express myself in safety around this person. It's something. Is he gone?
Speak to the people who are on your, like, who are in your circle, the people that you talk to, your audience, your family, your neighbors, whatever. You engage within the context of what you know and what you want, what you care about. You can't just like go generalize the entire left, because that doesn't mean anything. I don't want anything to do with whatever people are doing on Twitter and say that they're on the left or something. Like, these are just individual people expressing things and getting lumped together into, like I said, generalizations. So why minimizing harm and letting people do things, and you will have those, I believe you will have those men who are good role models that are not quote unquote left good models, but just in human good models, like and the people that relate to that will go to that, you know.
What are women saying that they want in relationships? Because a lot of, I would agree.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say. I've dated a lot.
I think somebody who was respectful. It would be nice.
I've dated a lot. I've had a lot of different relationships, and I've also been with my partner for 8 years. So I'm saying that I've had every kind of possible situation that I would ever be interested in, and people want different things. You can't generalize what women want or what men want or whatever. You can't do that. So it's just, let it be okay. Don't put pressure on people to do a certain thing. You can be an expression and a demonstration of what you think being a healthy example of whatever kind of role model. Like, show by example. Yeah. Don't try to reinforce.
Guys need a daddy. You need to be that daddy, Heem.
Like, all of these things you're saying, it's like, yeah, I do all of this, but I'm also realistic about the descriptive reality of dating that people are in. I know.
I don't think that you're correct. I think you are focused on like a certain group of people.
No,
Can I hear Aiko? I'm sorry, it's cutting out. Can I hear Aiko? What Aiko has to say, please?
I think that we are mixing up why things are the way they are and what is presently happening, and also the way that things evolve throughout. Like, the thing, we don't really pay attention. We think of history as this like separate thing, but as soon as the moment has passed, it is history. But no one's really trying to get like to the core of what and why, and also how. I mean, okay, still stoned, but like I said, I think that if you are pushing someone into roles, you are otherizing people who don't fit into that box. You can promote whatever you want individually, but overall, as a quote unquote left, we can't have like an avatar of healthy masculinity. There's not like a singular.
We must have these avatars because men don't even know where to look for. And if we don't give them something, then they're lost.
Okay, listen, I promise you.
There's like a team.
Oh, stop. Erudite was talking. Let her finish the thing. Then Heem. All right, and if
I
Aiko, you want to
agree
go
with you,
after.
I don't want these rigid rules. If you want to talk about somebody who doesn't live in a gender traditional relationship, you're looking at her. I typically do most of the work. Nick is the one who cooks. In a lot of ways, he's much more nurturing. He's the one who wants kids. He wants to be a stay-at-home dad. I've always been career. I've always pursued all these other things. So in a lot of relationships,
Oh, good for him, lucky guy.
when you're talking about non-trad relationships and then you're telling me that I'm prescribing this to other people, you're just wrong. You don't know
No,
anything.
I'm saying we can't force it. It's not you.
No, we can't force it, but we must give these men a prescription because they're desperately looking for it. And if we don't give them a good one, somebody like Andrew Tate will give them a really sinister one.
Give them a diversity of good ones.
To reduce. I agree that we need to reduce. This is why I always talk about masculine and feminine things, and I say, but men and women and non-binary people can occupy any of these things. It's fine. It's just the way our society looks at roles, and that's based. The issue is that I'm not going to tell men to create this ideal world of what dating looks like when they just want to find a nice girlfriend, settle down, and have some kids. I'm going to be honest about the descriptive reality of what it seems to be aggregate women are surveying and saying that they want in men, what it seems to be the case that they're selecting for. I'm going to give them advice on what that actually looks
bring
like.
back
And
healthy, but do
when people
it.
message
Bring
me,
back
they're
the
like,
trad,
"Hey,
but do it
I
healthy
think I'm
this
really
time.
atypical
You
from
know,
that norm." I'm
Operation
more than
Madman.
happy to talk to them about how to manage that in an atypical way because those people matter too. Because I'm fucking one of them. So I'm totally sensitive to that. But we have to give them this avatar. We have
Once
to.
again, I do not think that there is a we. I think we can only speak for the things that we have experience with and that we know. If we have no relation, if we can't relate to other certain groups' lives, then speak to your audience.
If you don't,
the message,
if you don't give a piece of them an avatar, okay, then someone else will fill that void. And I think,
hang
I
on.
think
Listen,
even a small cone of people, okay, would be beneficial.
I'm sorry.
Go on.
I don't mean to not have them. I mean we naturally will have more people.
I think the problem is, okay, and I say this with, listen, I admire your perspective, Erudite. I think that it's like a very noble cause that you're taking up. And I think that I try to be that kind of like positive masculinity. Like I love sports. I think that like the left sports behind, which is a huge L for men. Like dudes love sports, and that's just the fact of it. And the left needs to embrace sports a little bit more. I love sports. I think that I don't know, exercise and all of these things, like they're taking accountability. I don't know, all of these things, having ambitions. I would say I'm like a pretty positive masculine guy. But the problem that I have, and I guess maybe this is where we have to agree to disagree, is I don't think that no matter what I do, my content will appeal to this group of people who only wants their biases validated, who only wants to hear that women are the problem to their solutions and so on and so forth. But
I'm just going to say, if there's no we, then we can't change norms.
No, I don't agree. I think there is a we. I
think if in doing your content, okay, something adjacent to your content, okay, that lines up with the need that some kids might be feeling, okay, that I think it's worth it to be mindful to kind of explore those opportunities to see if they're there and see if at least some aspect someone can latch onto for a positive kind of boost in their life. It doesn't have to be everything. You don't have to fix all the problems. All right, just maybe a few problems for a few people, and that'll take the load off them. If it's adjacent, of course, to what you're doing, because you have to stay motivated. That fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I guess I would say, if there's no we can't change norms. We have to create some of these avatars. We should just make them less rigid. Absolutely. But we have to start with the norms. They exist. If there's no groups or labels or categories, then there's nothing. There's nothing to talk about, right? So we have to start with this, and then we build the norm towards the goal where we want to go.
Oh, we lost Aiko.
1 sec.
Oh, okay. All right, should we are we wrapping up?
Yeah, this is about the 2+ hour.
I gotta wake up in 4 hours to stream again, you fuckers.
Oh my god. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Listen, I think this was a very good chat. I really enjoyed it, and I think these discussions. Listen, part of it, I guess, Erudite, you would say part of it is having these conversations. I assume, right?
Yeah, especially if I can convince you all on my side, because I'm right.
All right. If you guys enjoy Erudite's stream, go subscribe to Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel.
Definitely don't now. Holy fuck. Stay clear of Jordan Peterson's channel right now. Holy shit. Please don't.
He needs you.
All
He
right.
needs to feel needed. Thank you both for coming. Aiko, I can't see you. I said both. All three of you for coming.
Thank you.
This was fun. Nice, spicy chat. And
Very spicy.
that's it. I bid you farewell. Thank you so much.
No, nothing.
Oh,
but love
let me
for all
plug
of you.
myself.
I really
Hello.
love it.
Hello. If
Yeah,
you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. You
Please.
don't mind?
Do can you also send me your the list of your socials so I can run it
Oh,
really quickly?
okay.
Put it on YouTube.
Oh man, you're gonna make me type. I'm terrible at this. But my name is. I'll do it in a bit. Okay, my name is Montreal Player. Twitch.tv/MontrealPlayer. You can call me Monty. Maybe that's not great for branding, but fuck you. You know. And I like to put. I'm trying to put together better conversations with the right combination of people with the right topic, and this worked. Okay, I don't have a set night, but it's around this time at night, 9:00. Yeah. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for the nice chat.
It was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed talking to all of you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right. I'm AikoRulz. I love these guys. And yeah, go follow him, notSoErudite, Montreal Player, etc. And peace and love.
Peace and
Also,
love.
I fucked all of your moms.
Jeez.
Ooh.
That's toxic femininity. That's what you were talking about, Erudite.
Her
If a guy said that, they'd be canceled.
Femininity. I didn't even open that can of worms.
Aiko saying my name. Aiko saying my name just hit me like ASMR. You know why? That stupid song I made where she was calling me like a fucking asshole or something. Okay, like she just kept saying Montreal Player in her like cool voice or something. I've heard it so many times. It hit a different part of my
That's all
brain.
you hear now?
Yeah, that's right. No, she has exactly the same tone. It's just the same thing. It's just, anyways, I just thought I'd share that strange reaction. Have a great night.
Yo, thanks everyone. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There we are. Let me switch back to only cams. Let's get rid of this. All right, and front camera.